Oh yeah, spoilers. Ugh, man, not again. Spoilers. All right, let me tell you this.
Hello.
Wait,
Welcome.
I'm the host. Shut up.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm the host of this episode. All
Fine.
right. So, welcome to episode 7 of Twofold podcast. Cue the music.
Yep. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Nice.
We're back. It's a special episode. It's special because I'm hosting it.
Yay.
As opposed to the
So,
other episodes, not special.
Yeah. No.
I
It's
see.
every third one is a special.
All right.
I'm joking. Bad jokes all around.
Joker.
I feel like Phil, when I'm hosting, just like just the nervousness just picks up and
Oh man,
you say things.
It was the
you
same
regret.
for me. I mean, my episode was really bad, so I feel you.
By the way, if you're new here, just a little refresh, and you couldn't bother to listen to the old episodes. We're the Twofold podcast. We got two brothers, not to be confused with the two brothers, the audio interfaces. We got two brothers. We got Phil.
Hey, it's me.
Yeah, it's Phil. That's Phil. High energy. We got his little brother Jake.
Yo, low energy.
Yeah, super low energy. Superman. Not who.
Super lowman.
Super
I
lowman.
believe.
And then their cousin Tim. That's me.
It's you.
A midman. You're like
Yeah.
mid energy.
These
Neither
two.
high
That's
nor
right.
low.
Two boys, originally from America, now going live from Zagreb. While I'm talking to them over the internet, all the way in Bratislava, Slovakia.
That's right.
And every 2 weeks, we do a new episode where we go see a movie in the cinema, and then we take another movie that somehow related and pair it up and watch that as well at our homes. Any movie from any history of all movies, and then we talk about these two movies.
That's
and
right.
We also take turns hosting it, so each episode, one of us hosts and then picks the two movies. And this week, it's me.
Beautifully described, by the way, very well.
Very good. It's very
And I wanted to
concise.
say that this episode
Yeah.
we have some actually great movies to compare.
Hey.
Fit really well together. Good job,
Yeah.
Tim.
Going into
Deep space. We have been followed by great luck of just picking movies, and then somehow there's a lot of real relatability in the end, which I was
And
surprised for these
coincidences.
two picks today because I didn't really read much about them. I just kind of went, this could be similar, but then I was surprised at the themes.
So,
that-
question, Tim,
And
for
Frost.
Solaris,
Man.
did you just go, this seems like to be a sci-fi classic. I'll go for that and hope for the best.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to see it for a very long time. Two movies we're going to be watching. We went to see this week in cinema Ad Astra with Brad Pitt, our boy. We're going to talk about that movie first.
Ad Astra.
And then we saw Solaris as the companion movie.
Solaris.
I wanted to see Solaris for a while, and for Ad Astra, I wanted to put like a science fiction movie, like an older science fiction movie. I just put into Google classic sci-fi movies, and that was there, and I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to see that for a few years now. So, and that's it. And I didn't read anything about it.
Really?
I typed it in, and up
and I was
came
just like, let's watch this.
Sicario.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Sicario.
Sicario.
So I picked that. Yeah. So
Good picks.
thanks.
Very good.
Thanks,
Very
boys.
good. This is a great
Solid
great
picks.
duo.
Before we jump into Ad Astra, I just want to see how you guys doing. I've seen you like a week ago.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
That's right. We
we
were
came
there.
over.
Yeah. The
Actually,
boys.
for me, a
Yeah.
lot of stuff going on. A lot of traveling, surprisingly, these past couple of
Really?
weeks.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of hangouts.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Remember, I
yeah.
went to Berlin. Did I update you on my
That's
Berlin?
true.
Yeah, you did. I think that was last time.
No, I didn't. That was before.
You didn't.
I
That was
left.
before. So
Yeah.
much
What?
happened in 2 weeks.
Really?
So much happened.
Oh, crazy.
Berlin was killer. It's a really awesome city.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great time. I was surprised that the city felt very diverse, interesting, fresh, and chill. Like it wasn't like, how London is like busy, like in its nature. Berlin didn't feel like super busy. It just felt like big, but very relaxed.
Did you notice that it is tradition to carry an open beer around town in Berlin?
Mm-mm.
No, it's not
didn't.
only is it not frowned upon, it's like encouraged. Like You go to the store,
didn't
grab
know
a
this.
beer, open it, and just go to the bus, walk around with it. Isn't that great?
That's
Yeah, it was awesome.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Public
pretty cool.
transit was smooth.
Smooth
awesome.
public transit.
Lots of subways. It was great. I went to this amazing donut shop we found on the way,
Mm-hmm.
and I had one of the best donuts in my life. It was like an American donut style.
Okay.
Nice.
And it's
I love
I'll
American
you go
donuts.
to
on
the-
what it's called at some point.
Sorry, I didn't catch it.
I love American donuts.
I love
I love
American
America
donuts, too.
now. I don't.
I love America.
I am captain. So did you go to the naked rave club?
Yes, I went to many.
Many
We did about 6 or 7.
in a day.
Wow.
Mood.
In the whole night was it great?
Okay, so the donut shop is called Bramibal's Donuts. Bramibal. And I didn't know they're vegan donuts,
Huh.
but they tasted amazing.
Wow.
They were just astonishing. And the coffee
Ooh.
was brilliant. It was like I got I think a latte or something like that, and it was like a chocolatey rich coffee, and it just complemented the donut. It was
Deliciousness.
awesome.
That's
was
great.
cool.
So
I
you
went to
actually
this,
had a
vegan.
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 I used to say vegan too.
I always say
These
that.
people live in Vegas. Vegan.
A vegan donut. Yeah.
I'm vegan.
No. Like, so you
That's
had
cool.
an actual vegan donut you didn't even know. That's pretty interesting.
No. It was a really
Well, there
awesome
you
place,
go.
super friendly staff.
Crazy.
Shout out to them. We went to this design event by an agency called AJ and Smart in Berlin. Super cool. It was like a live podcast recording. I got to ask a question, and it's going to be on
Was it
YouTube
exciting?
at some point.
What
You know,
was your question? What was your question?
My question was this. I said, so my company uses the Scrum methodology. I said, as a designer, how do I help others kind of learn that design is not an afterthought? Because that's something we have a problem with.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a good answer. And the answer was that you need to speak the language of like marketing, sort of speak a language that they understand versus like users and experience. You need to think about like, if we help you design this product, it'll help you sell the product better. So something along those lines.
Like a better, worse experience, less users, and then they start panicking.
Yeah,
Our money.
along those lines. And we met this designer called Chris Doe. We spoke with him. Cool. There was an after party, lots of drinks,
Lots of
beers,
nakedness in the club,
just so much nakedness.
rubbing oiled bodies
Oh man.
And yeah,
of
and
UX designers everywhere.
yep. And that's pretty much it. Berlin was cool.
That's lovely.
Very nice.
That's lovely.
Berliner. Ich bin ein Berliner.
So you went to Berlin, and then the next weekend, you guys had your friend over from America, the American, and you guys visited Bratislava.
American.
And we hung
Yeah, it was
out.
awesome. Our old
for a
friend
couple of
Drew
hours.
Vosberg, he's
Uh-huh.
actually a guest on our old podcast, The Matrix
That's right.
Minute.
He was. It was Matrix
can
Minute.
check
I
it out.
forgot about that. Yes. I was going way back to like 2014 when we did that other podcast, Phil and
He
Jake.
was here for about 10 days, and we did some more traveling. Went to Vienna.
Yeah.
And then we hit up Bratislava Lava Land. And that's
Bratislava
what Tim was
Lava.
referring to earlier.
Yes.
Our hangout.
And
Yeah.
during the hangout, we popped on our Instagram questions for viewers, and a few of you asked questions, and hopefully we answered. You know, to
Thanks
your
for participating.
liking.
We got a pretty
Yeah.
good number of responses.
Yeah. So anytime we're going to be together in real life again, we're probably going to do that again. And you guys can hit us up with anything. I mean, you can always just ask us on Instagram anytime you want to, but
Yeah.
that'll be special.
And shout out to Soho, the restaurant I always love to eat at.
Yeah, I know,
Bratislava.
right? Every time we go and it's like, oh, we're going to Soho. Yeah, that's what I want.
Any comments from your American friend on the city of Bratislava as you left? What was his,
He actually enjoyed the trip, like as a whole. He really liked seeing different places. He said he had a great time meeting new people. He really liked also like, you know, how easy it was to get around. Remember, he used like public transit in Vienna and in Bratislava, and he was just like, man, it's really cool, super easy. And he enjoyed it. He
Magical.
really liked everything.
Yeah, that's great. I'm very happy about
Yeah, I
that.
think he really liked his coffee too at that place we went to.
Nice.
Oh yeah. All right, boys. All right, boys.
Well, it is episode
about you boys?
007. You know what that means. Down, diddle, down, down. But
Any
there's
news
a
with you
new.
guys?
Yeah.
Tim, Phil?
Well, the news is that the new Bond poster came out and it looks fantastic. No, it's
it?
just a photo
Oh.
of James Bond. That's all. And
From
there's
the
text.
previous movie.
Probably, you know.
Like a still from the
That's all
from
it
the
could
last
be.
movie.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention that because it's episode 007. So there you go.
That's
For
true.
me,
What you
I don't
gonna go
know.
now?
I don't know.
You're going to
honestly.
You're
Japan
going on a
soon.
big trip, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I'm going, but that's like in 3 weeks, something like
Well,
that.
but
Yeah.
the next
You're still
episode's
going to
in
be
2
on the
weeks.
next episode, and then the
Yeah,
third
yeah.
one.
We can talk more
Ooh.
about it there.
Okay,
Yeah,
good
we'll see
idea.
what happens. Magic. Who knows? Phil's,
Yeah, who knows
the
what kind
parents
of-
out of the house.
Match.
It's going to be super mellow episode. It's going to be me and Jake going, oh, yeah. That's a good movie.
Man. Oh yeah, I got sick. That's what I did.
Philosophy. Oh, how did you get sick?
I just got a cold.
Did you go to the naked club in Zagreb?
No.
Rub bodies?
Like I think I
So
was
you've
already
been going to
sick by the
naked
time. By the time we were at Bratislava, I was already feeling the like symptoms of like cloggy nose,
I was also sick. like, 2 weeks
lightheadedness. Yeah, feeling very.
ago. Tim,
very
did you
bad.
escape the sickness or no?
Yeah.
The one to change?
It's like it's the parent upgrade. You gotta
Yeah.
just it's one of those. It's like you feel it and you're like, no, stop sickness. I think I've
No,
taken
stop.
the advice of Dr. Jake, which is like,
Mhm.
my body can take it. It's just no
Well, I also
sickness,
averted
go away.
puking in Berlin. I think I ate a bad currywurst sausage.
Oh, that was bad. I
And
remember
then when
the
we
story.
came back to the apartment, I was just like, "Ooh, felt so horrible."
I remember the
tail.
tale.
But I had to avoid pukage because right before I was gonna puke, our Airbnb host came back home
Oh no!
because she was working, late. And then I heard her walking in the hallway. And I was like, okay. I was thought to myself, you know what? Better not to puke. It's gonna stink. It's gonna be nasty. What a great guest I am, just puking in the toilet. So I did the same thing to him. I said, "Body, no." And I went to bed, and I just felt like I feel my body psychologically fixing this situation.
That's good.
And I
That's
just
good.
fell asleep. And in the morning, I felt okay.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The willpower. So before we head into the movie, I gotta check with you guys. Do you guys Do you guys have some bevs?
Yes. Who wants
Yes,
to
you
go
got some
first?
bevs.
I'll
Jake?
go first because mine
Oh,
is the
Phil.
most uninteresting.
Yeah,
So
I'll go second. Tim has the most interesting one.
I was getting groceries today, and then I remembered, podcast is today. Tim and Jake would want me to have a beer to talk about. So I went over to the grocery store and I looked and I saw, there's something that's like on discount, and it happens to be Garden Brewery Pilsner, and there was like a lot of them, and they were really cheap. There was like under $1, and
Nice.
I got one can. It's nice. There you go.
Is
Lovely.
it the blue one or the IPA?
It's the Pilsner. It's
Oh,
the
sorry,
yellow
Pilsner.
one.
The Pilsner. So
Gotcha.
So how does it taste compared to
It
like
tastes like a
Pilsner
Pilsner.
Urquell, the
Yeah.
Czech one? So it tastes like that exactly?
A little bit richer, I'd say. I mean, this is a
Really?
local brewery, so they would craft it with care.
Do you feel like a fullness? Because
They add more Pilsner spice on it to it.
Yeah. I do, and that's it.
Pill spice.
That's my drink.
That's okay. It's good.
Nice. I got a
Garden-
classic. I
What'd you
too
get?
was like, I need to also buy beers. It is the last day. and
That's not all you had to do with the last day.
It's true.
I wanted, I know, and I wanted to avoid getting always the local beers, and I got the classic BrewDog Punk IPA.
Perfect.
That's good.
What's so
Punk
bad
IPA
about
is a
that?
staple. Oh, did you go to Berlin the BrewDog bar?
Sadly, no. Sadly, I wanted to go, but it's like we were kind of.
But there were so many
in the middle of
naked
time.
bars.
It's just too many
Yeah, but
bodies to
those
rub
were
against.
priorities. So
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
So Tim, what
okay.
did you
that's it
get?
for me.
I have. So I went to my classic store I go to get my beers, and the lady suggested this new brewery they got from Belgium. And let me read you the beer I have. The beer I have is a Omnipolo Mochi Mango Pineapple Passion Fruit Peach Smoothie Sour.
Whoa, that's a
And it-
mouthful.
And it
That's a punch,
sounds
bud.
intimidating, but it tastes delicious. It's pretty good. I don't.
Well, describe some of the flavors.
So, primarily it's a sour, right? So it's a sour beer.
Right.
So that's the first thing that hits you. Then the aftertaste is all these flavors of a little bit of mango sometimes. You know, the great thing is there's so many ingredients in this that every time I take a sip, there's a different aftertaste. Sometimes
different
you get the
taste.
pineapple.
Oh wow, look at that
Sometimes you
magical.
the peach. Sometimes
So
the
much
passion.
One more time,
Sometimes
who's
the
the
mango.
brewery?
Omnipolo.
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 Which is a great can design. Is it the turquoise one or the multi?
That's the multi one. The sort of you got like a little like a germ here, and then like an elephant who's meditating with an eye, and then you get like sperm floating around, like trees of life. It's
What?
Pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
I have to say that your beer people in the shop seem to be really cool and helpful folks.
Well, they might be listening to the podcast because they were wondering why I always get 2 beers, and I said we have a podcast. So
Well, if you're
wanted to
listening,
check it out. Yeah.
shout out. I visited your fine store a few times as well. Yes.
Yeah. It's the Beer Heaven in translation, the store. It's pretty good. They got some
At Fresh Market, is that them?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's good. It's good. So, without further ado, let's talk about Ad Astra.
Let's do it. So first of all, Ad Astra, doesn't it mean to the stars?
As we've learned from the title sequence, it is to the stars.
Mm.
You remembered. Very good.
Yes.
Jake and I, when we went to the theater, Jake and I were a little bit scared that we went to the wrong theater.
That's right, yeah.
And Jacob just went, I hope we're in the right one.
They were having some kind of promotional thing, some little party at the cinema.
Yeah, there was like this weird gala party with like fancy
And we were
peoples
like,
in
we were
suits.
Like, are they showing our movie at all? Like, what's happening? And yeah.
Funny coincidence. Every time I go see a movie, I fear I'm in the wrong screen. This, without a doubt, I sit down and I always freak out. I don't know why.
I don't
Wow.
do
weird
normally, but this time I was because you know how in some theaters they have little screens showing you like, hey, this is the time, and
Yes,
this is
yes,
the poster, this is the movie.
Yeah.
And ours wasn't showing the poster.
Oh, yeah,
or the
yeah, it was a little
time. It was just on my
mysterious.
phone, and I was thinking,
Oh, you had you went manually, like you know where it's supposed to be, but there was no.
yeah.
Huh,
I mean,
indication.
it was showing other movies like from previous times, and one of them was like It, and I was like, oh no.
Okay. That's. I understand
And-
your worries now. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when we sat down, I was thinking like, okay, logos, just something sci-fi, something stars, something. Come on. And then,
Then the
sounds
title.
came up, and we were
The
like,
title.
we were like in the near future. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Also, that reminds us that we actually went to the wrong theater once, Jake.
Really?
Mistakenly.
Remind
We
me,
were
Phil.
going to watch Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and we actually went to the wrong theater. And we were sitting there. We had to watch like 10 minutes of ads, and then one of them was a trailer to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
That's right. That's how
And then we were
knew.
like, I don't think the movie should have the trailer on there.
I can imagine that.
And then we went out and we looked, oh, it's the wrong one.
That's good that you picked it up from the trailers. Yeah. Sometimes that can be telling. If you go see Pixar and they just put on like a super crazy horror movie trailer, you're
Yeah,
like,
then you know.
oh, yeah, that's not right. This ain't right.
Did you hear about so many theaters like in the States? Like there seems to be like news almost like at least once a year of one theater accidentally playing a different movie for kids that's not child friendly at
Oh,
all.
that's bad.
Yep. I mean,
Really?
there's a lot of theaters. The USNA is a big country. There's bound to be some like screw up. But that's
Yeah.
that's hilarious though.
It's strange though, because I think a lot of that stuff is kind of automated-ish. Like at least I think.
Yeah.
And usually teenagers work there and they don't care that much.
True.
Yeah,
True.
yeah. Sorry?
Yeah.
Oh, remember it was like Inside Out and they played Insidious.
Oh, okay. I can see how that can be.
You know, like you're just typing in the file and you're like,
yeah, and it just says in. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, it makes sense. The other thing is that I think that in general, if anyone goes to Europe, particularly in Croatia, because we have experience, I think the theaters are like for the price way better than
I think
the
so.
American
Really?
theaters.
Yeah. In
I mean,
my
I haven't
experience.
been to an American theater for 8 years, so I wouldn't know anymore. But I mean, you can't beat the price
I think
at
in
least
general,
for the
though,
price.
I think we're right.
Fancy,
though. I mean,
controlled,
yeah.
always on time. The ads are a little too much, but other than that,
Assigned seats is a really good European thing. I think.
yeah.
that was like, yeah, it's a weird when I learned about US. You
Yeah.
have to, like, you
I
queue
don't
and
think
you
that makes
wait.
any sense.
Yeah,
So
we
it's
have
like, oh, I have to be
experience
there
having
before.
to like, we had to like fight for different seats. And once, like when we go to a movie that's like at a premiere date, you know, when when it just comes out, lots of people are there. And guess what? We don't manage to sit next to each other sometimes.
That's crazy.
Because
You know
it's
what's
just- they're
I
worse?
think
filled.
the system doesn't make sense.
When you have like tickets, like for reserved seating, you can just skip the trailers because you know it's going to be 15 minutes of trailers. So you just come
True.
15 minutes later.
True.
There's your seat waiting for you. Just plop your butt down there and you're like, ba-ba, movie.
I would
Yeah,
do that, but
exactly.
I always think that they're like close the doors and then we have to go ask someone like, hey.
Hey, they
Right,
locked us
I
out.
guess.
They locked us
I
out.
guess they close the
They
doors
can't
after the
lock you.
trailers.
Yeah, but you can still go to, like, when you go to the bathroom, you still go to the doors. No one's going to stop you.
You're right.
It's like, it's not like,
I'm too much of a
the
dad.
disturber. The disturber has entered.
Too much of a dad. All right. Anyway, let's keep going with the movie.
Okay, so we got Ad Astra.
Mhm.
New science fiction movie from director James Gray. I have not seen his previous movies, but I have seen previous
either,
movies
me either.
from the stars, Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones. And a bunch of other people. Liv Tyler, mainly on
Bible.
like, screens and stuff.
Piple.
The Piple. So, Ad Astra. Let me try to put this down. So Brad Pitt, astronaut, near future. We got some space colonization. We got Mars and Moon, and
The Mune.
and he's working on a little
Yars and the
little
mule.
antenna, which I thought was a space elevator, but it's a space antenna.
Oh, I thought it was a
True.
space elevator. I was telling Jacob, oh, this was like a theory many people had. Like maybe you can make an elevator up to space and stuff. And
So unfortunately, no, it's a space antenna. Because of some weird shocks from space that, through turn of events, turns out is his lost dad, who went 16 years ago to the outer edge of our solar system to find alien light, and the government thinks he's sabotaging the whole solar system with sending these crazy, like EMP, like pulses that only his ship can make from all the way from Neptune. And so they grab Brad Pitt to go to Mars to send a message so they can track him and then nuke him. Right? He goes through Moon, he goes to Mars, he sends his message, and they found out where he is. But then he's like, I must confront my father, because through the monologue we find out his relationship with his father wasn't so strong. The father left him. He was working on to work, so he wants to resolve some issues. So he then hijacks the rocket, kills the crew accidentally, goes all the way to Neptune. By the way, spoilers.
oh yeah, spoilers. Ugh, man, not again.
It's okay. We'll put it at
Spoilers.
the beginning.
Good. So he goes to find his dad, which he finds next to Neptune, and dad is like, I don't care about you. I just want to find aliens. Couldn't find aliens. I'm upset. I don't want to go back. Brad Pitt's like, let me help you. No, okay, I'll nuke this little rocket, and then I'll Captain America out of here, and I'll come back.
Very nice. That's actually exactly the plot.
That's
Very
Well
nice.
and then of course Brad Pitt learns not to be a cold mess that he was at the beginning, and he learns to
Well, he's reminded
appreciate.
of humans because they didn't find any intelligent life.
Yeah, they're more precious. Humans are more precious
Yes.
since there's no signs of other creatures at the moment, and he grows a beard as well.
You didn't.
true.
Hey, but Tim, you didn't stay until the end credits where a shadow goes over the moon, and then there's a big flying
Oh.
saucer.
and,
Yes. That was after the credits. That's right.
and it's Mars Attacks.
And you see the shadow, and then it goes boom. Ad Astra will return.
Yeah. So that's Ad Astra.
Cool.
I seen it a couple of days ago. So, Phil,
Yes.
what did you think of Ad Astra?
Well, let me tell you something. I really enjoyed watching this movie. I had a wonderful time. It was slow. It was very tonal. It was a very moody movie. There was very little dialogue. There was very little of character interactions. There was very little of, you could say, humanity in the film in terms of the people that we get to meet, other than Brad Pitt and, I mean, what's his name in the movie? Roy
I
McBride.
don't remember. Ah, yes.
Mr.
Roy
McBride.
McBride? Who's
Yeah.
Roy McBride?
Oh, that's well, no, Clifford
Brad Pitt's
is
character.
no, Roy is
Brad,
Brad. Clifford is Tom.
his dad.
Oh, they're the names? I have not. It's just Brad and
Guys, I have my Wikipedia page on. I always
That's
have
good.
it on every time we're watching and talking about this movie.
Nice.
Every movie, not just this movie, sorry. And well, I thought it was very fascinating to watch. I do enjoy seeing visuals of space, and I do enjoy seeing the vast darkness of the infinite universe. I mean, Can we
Yeah.
say it's infinite? Who knows?
As far as we're concerned, never
So
ends.
far, well, it's expanding, but it's not infinite.
And it tells a very simple plot, right? It doesn't tell anything that's very complex. You can really like watch it and know what's going on without having
Yeah.
to go, wait, this guy's there, he's doing that. And I was thinking to myself, after we watched it, I was thinking, Tim's not going to have a hard time explaining the story in this one because it's very straightforward. I did like the performances. I, in fact, thought that, specifically for me, I thought that Tommy Lee Jones is acting. I've never seen him act this way before because
Well, okay. I might
used
pause
to-
you there for a moment. Well, I hope you're not referencing to Batman Forever.
Batman Forever. No. Like I've seen him in different films. Like what was that? No Country for Old Men.
But yeah,
and
I think
The
that's like his
Fugitive
peak.
and all these other kinds of films, and the Men in Black. Like stuff like that. Another alien film. You see, he does find aliens after all in a different universe.
That's true. I think Tommy Lee Jones.
The aliens find him.
His performance as he's getting older. It's like he's mastered of doing less, and it means more. Like
Yeah.
honestly, like he's not moving. He's super still, like a ghost, and he just his eyes are just communicating every emotion that you can. It's just this old tired man. He's perfect for it.
Yeah, but he does have a different kind of like. I feel like he did try a different accent or something because every time I see him in other movies, he's just like, "Sure, Slick, get on up there," kind of thing.
Oh, that's
Tommy
true.
Lee Jonesiness. This one's more subdued, and I like that.
Like
and,
Men in Black.
Yeah. And another movie where he was specifically asked by the director to not do anything.
Okay, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Philip. What about
I
you?
mean, there's
Jacob?
more that I will talk about, but we can
Yeah,
keep
well, we'll
going.
talk about. I was just initial thoughts.
Yeah, I actually have a lot of the same thoughts, surprisingly, as Phil. What I like most is really the setting of the movie. I really love the setup and the setting.
I was gonna say.
I love the approach they picked where they went for a very subtle future that was not flashy, but very... It was almost like it was an extension of sort of the golden age of the space race and people thinking about space and people looking to the stars, to distant worlds. And it's almost like an alternative universe where it's an offshoot from that time of the 60s into the future.
You think like it'd be like a present
future
now,
past.
but
It really-
if they
yeah.
continued with this spell,
Yes,
Well,
that's how I looked at it.
okay, I see.
Okay.
They-
I
they-
saw it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I saw it more as a future past. Like if Space Odyssey existed, that's what it would be. You know what I mean?
Or
It's
that.
just an alternate. It's like what The Incredibles is. It's like the future, but it's in the 50s. So this is like
like a retro
late
futurism.
60s.
Is that
yes.
what's it called? Yeah,
Yeah.
something like
right.
that.
Yeah,
But it still is future because like you can see they have transparent screens for their phones and all
Yeah,
kinds of stuff.
and I liked how they use that setup of like in the future, space travel has become so common, it's simple, there's no problems, it's not anymore some obstacle, it's just the norm.
it's
And that's,
interesting that you guys have like your Jake's is more like it's like a alternative reality. Yours is in the past. Mine's like really close future. Like I would imagine this is like 2022 because recently I've been reading about Elon Musk and SpaceX and the way they have plans, and it's just like this is basically their plans. Like they have their
Right.
retractable
Oh no, yeah, that's
rocket that
fine.
goes up and
Yeah.
down, and
No,
then
no,
like
I
they want to
agree.
do commercial flights around moon, and if you look at their rocket, it's very basic, non-flashy, just the lowest cost material, and let's just do this kind of thing. So it was like to me, it felt like
sense,
it was like
No, I agree.
tomorrow.
I meant in the sense alternate reality, like in a sense that it is, let's say 2022 or something like that, with
Oh,
the
okay, okay.
influences of like Musk
That's what
and
I
stuff
meant
like
too.
that. But more in the sense of like it could be an alternate reality where like mankind sort of is still hopeful and interested in space, because I mean today, I mean there are people interested in space, but it's not
It's
like,
China.
it's not like the whole world
China.
it's not like the whole world is thinking
And
about
Elon
it like
Musk.
they did in the 60s, for instance. So that's the way I was sort of looking at it.
Yeah.
It's like the world kind of like, put their problems aside in a sense, and they just, let's look to this stuff, let's move ahead,
For me, it was just I was just talking about how it looked like. The production design definitely drew a lot of inspiration from Space Odyssey, from Solaris, from those kinds of science fiction films from the early 70s because and like late 60s because it had that feeling. Like there was a wide shot of like they've been doing tests before he was going on to the moon, and I was like, this is Space Odyssey. This is how it looks like, back then. This is how people perceived the future was going to be in 1968. You know what I mean? And not necessarily SpaceX now, because SpaceX now looks more high tech and curvy, and
Oh, does it really? Like if you,
I don't know.
I don't know. If you look at their newest rocket that they unveiled like a couple of weeks ago, which is supposed to do round trips and go to the moon, it's made out of like just shiny, like, well, what's that material? Like metal, like stainless steel. It just looks like a stainless steel, and you can actually see the seams where it's like bolt. What's that?
Bolted.
What do you do? Not bolted, like yeah, I guess bolted, whatever. But it looks really like super, just like
Welded,
normal,
maybe?
welded. Exact. That's the word I was looking for.
Well, I really like the production design.
Yeah,
That's pretty
absolutely.
cool.
And I think general thoughts is that it was a very surprisingly thoughtful approach in using the sci-fi as a backdrop, but also like they had, it was more of like about the characters and about those sorts of I guess you can maybe even say some type of character study. And I like that it wasn't like focusing on the some kind of plot points or things like that. It was very slow. It was very much about the mood. And then all this other stuff was like a backdrop, but it felt very realistic, and that's what I loved about it. It felt like you were there, and it felt like you were
space
in
was
space.
just an empty void of blackness, and I loved it because I was so sick. I'm sorry, I know many people like this, but I'm so sick of seeing those stupid nebulas that aren't even real with the colors from the Marvel films. For me, I was just so sick of it. I just wanted to see dark black space with a couple of dots here and there. That's what I wanted to see.
And I really like that they
Very
kept
happy to see
things
that back.
very open-ended thematically, and they only touched on a few things here and there. That's what I liked. And you felt, the things they were trying to convey, like, the feelings of loneliness and emptiness and things like that the characters were experiencing. You really felt that just from the visuals, just from the feel. So that's what I think. That's why I liked it.
Cool. Nice.
Also, the way they did the anti-gravity stuff, that to me was like the best I've ever seen, in my opinion.
Lovely. All right.
No, you don't have anything to say about the gravity? Because like when I was watching the movie, every time it happened, I'm like, how do they do it? How do they do it? How do they do it? I want to know, because it's very good.
It was very good. I think there's a few moments where they kind of forgot about it, which can be explained like with a sci-fi thing. Like in the moon base, they're just like walking normally around, which you could explain, okay, they have anti-gravity in the moon, and then when they walk out of the base, it's normal. But it's like, there's some instances where I was like, did you guys ever see Gravity from...
Yeah, I did.
Alfonso
And I
Cuarón?
wanted to say that for me, it was interesting because we watched it a month or so ago, and I drew a lot of parallels to that.
Yeah. That one goes all nuts with the gravity. So,
Hence the name.
As far exactly as far as me, I mean, this is definitely my kind of movie. So obviously, I enjoyed the journey. I think there's some really great elements about it. Both what you guys said. I love the production design of how like realistic. It's like Children of Men, kind of like the near future, where it's realistic enough that's really relatable, and it's not crazy sci-fi thing. There's definitely criticisms that I might have for it. For instance, I really didn't enjoy the narration. I think for me personally, the movie would be a lot better if that wasn't there. I think a lot of the character revealing moments of Brad Pitt, of inner thoughts, could have been revealed like maybe a smarter way. Maybe when he's doing his little psychiatric test, or when he finally then gets to his dad, he could instead of the narration, I think.
I didn't like the narration at the end, to be honest. I didn't like the last narration is particularly.
I don't think
was a little too.
It felt to me like it
nose.
was added in post. Like they were like, okay, this is
like Blade
this is
Runner.
It's not explaining enough, because I think it would be a lot more moodier and like more mysterious. Like you wouldn't understand what was his new motives.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just speculating here. So that would be. And there's another criticism that I might have is that there are a lot of aspects that seem very realistic of this movie. So then you kind of, I don't want to be the one who nitpicks, as we talked about in this podcast a lot. But when you kind of put on like a really realistic label to your sci-fi, you can't then be mad if I go and criticize of some really outrageous
CG monkeys.
Yes,
monkeys were okay. You know what annoyed me about that part?
No, the CG baboon was not okay.
The CG baboon.
I mean, it was okay.
weird.
It took me out. Like I don't know about you, but like every time I see like a computer generated creature,
Yeah.
I feel like they look great, but when they start moving, and this is me preaching again, and I've been preaching this for years and years and years,
Preaching
and I
against
always
the
feel
baboons.
like not against the baboons, but like hand
Why do you hate
animation
baboons?
is difficult, and it's solely dependent on the skill and experience and trial and error of the animator doing it. So it's very human. It's a very human process, and therefore it's very hard to get correct 100%. And that being said, I can tell when it's CG, and then it kind of takes me out of the movie. And I was like, when he went into that, when he went to check this
Yeah.
derelict spacecraft that was not communicating anymore, they had to,
It was.
know.
They even say like, animal research module.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no, because I didn't know anything about this movie except that Brad Pitt was in it because of the poster,
Same
and
here,
he's in
same here.
space.
That's all
So
I know.
so yeah, I'm looking and there's claw marks, and I'm like, oh, is this gonna be an alien movie now? Is this gonna be about aliens? And I'm gonna be disappointed because it's not gonna be that great. I don't know. And
What
then
did you
the
want to say,
baboons-
Tim?
Oh no,
Yeah, go.
no, it's okay. Phil can finish. I'll tell you why.
And
That's
then-
not what I wanted to say. It's something before that.
And I
I'll
thought
finish.
it was going to be a movie about baboons outbreaking with viruses from alien something or other. I don't
it's
know.
baboons sending pulses from Neptune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They figure out a system. That'd be hilarious. It's a nice little. What is that called? A red herring?
Detour. Oh, red herring. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it gives you like, oh no, it's a grand conspiracy. It's not. But no, I wanted to say the funny thing is that it's not with the baboons that bother me. It's the fact that they stopped the goddamn ship in the middle of space. So
No.
here's how transplanetary travel works right now, and it's probably going to work for a long time since we don't have propulsion system that are strong enough. So what you use the slingshot effect. You use the gravity pull from planets to get a really, really strong boost, and then you just, because there's a vacuum in
And you
space, so
coast.
you just use you maintain the velocity that you gain from that, and you use that for satellites. We use that to sending things to Mars. That's why things go to Mars only.
Mars.
There's specific time of the year because the planets align, and you can just use the slingshot and send things across a greater speed. So they go from the moon and they're flying, and then just like a car brake. Oh, let's just stop this really fast, and use
I
half of
didn't
our
know. I
fuel
didn't
to
think
start.
of that.
And
at
it's
all.
like normally I wouldn't care, but it's like you start off.
You're
this
making it
whole
realistic, right?
yeah, like the whole moon base, and it's like. It's like they got great comments about like $120 for the pillow and the blanket,
Right,
and it's just
right.
like the commercials and everything. So it's for me, it was like, come on, guys, come on, push a little bit further.
Well, on that note, to be honest, I have to say that like if we're comparing this to Gravity was a very cool experience, the movie, but I actually really liked how they handled things here much better, in my opinion.
Give me like what do you mean
I
specifically?
think maybe it's more of like, how in this movie there are very, I don't want to say like, yeah, like not very possible things that happen to Brad Pitt, and he escapes, and these are all sort of improbable things, which is okay for the sake of the story. But I don't know, just like overall how they handled all the technology and the feel. I didn't concentrate so much on it, like maybe like you did, for instance, with the proposer and stuff like
Mr.
that.
Spaceman.
To me, it felt like, oh, this is great. They figured all this stuff out in the future. Great. But for some reason, in Gravity,
Yeah, they figured it all out in the future.
In Gravity, it almost feels like it is supposed to be modern day and realistic, but I had less of a sense of like, wow, like this is so, it didn't feel so tangible. It felt more
Okay,
sort of just
like the stuff like how they're moving through space and getting to
and
rockets
how like,
and
the
everything.
main character, escapes and how she manages to do things. I don't know. It just felt a little less. It took me out.
I didn't
more,
see
I
it, so there you go.
I would recommend seeing. I mean, I don't know if they're not gonna.
I wanted to
release it
mention one
again.
more thing.
Yeah, what do you want to say?
I don't know as much about space travel as Tim,
Mm-hmm.
but I did notice that Neptune's ring was incredibly small.
Incredibly dense as well.
Oh, right. It should be like
these-
super not dense, right?
Yeah, you
I mean,
have
think
like,
about it. Yeah, go.
No, it's like I think you have. If you look at like Neptune, I think it's sort of like 3% is of material of the actual rings.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at that, it's that there's not that much stuff you could.
By the way,
like,
since you are
really-
men of science,
Yeah.
We are men of science.
Is Neptune a gas planet or no?
I don't remember if it is
Well,
a
I
gas
guess I have
planet.
to
It's not a
ask the
gas
computer of
giant
Science.
like Jupiter, but
Jupiter.
I'm not sure. I can check. But here's you know what kind of bugged me for that yeah, is it a giant? It's a what?
Neptune is
Well,
the
it's
eighth and
slightly
farthest
more
known flat
massive
planet from
than,
the sun.
Uranus, so
Uranus.
You remember that? Remember that Futurama joke? That's so funny because like they're,
Yeah.
they're looking at the planets and Fry goes Uranus and like no we don't call it Uranus. So finally the scientists in the 25th century finally decided to rename it to end that horrible joke about anus, and he's like, what do you call it now? Your rectum.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so but in that whole sequence, I find it hilarious. Like there's like plot elements that kind of feel written. Like when he's entering his dad's spaceship, he's just like, oh no, there goes my space pod. Like could you just like tether it or something?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand
Well,
he's excited and to finally see his dad and everything, but that felt
Excited. I thought he
hilarious.
was scared to death.
Well,
Okay,
listen,
whichever. It just it felt funny. You could see it like, oh, like that's gonna be a plot point. He's gonna try to figure out how to go back.
Well, it's interesting. You had that perspective. My perspective was totally different. I thought that Brad Pitt's character at that point was going through so much stuff, and plus the accidental killing of those people on the spaceship. I thought he was going through like tremendous amount of guilt and things like this. So maybe he was even thinking. I thought his character was thinking this might be the final endpoint.
That's
for me.
what I
Maybe
thought too.
I thought
That makes
he's
sense.
already like was going to go meet his dad, solve this, but going back probably not a chance. He's going to make it.
Like
so
a reckless abandonment, like just like I'm
almost
going.
almost like he's just going, and this is the most important thing, last thing he has to get done. Getting back, he's not even thinking about it. So that's why he let go of that capsule. That was my interpretation.
Cool. All right, so I guess we can talk about it like this randomly, but
Yeah.
any thoughts as far as, because there's like obvious sections. I would put it through, like you got the Earth part, you got the Moon part, the Mars part, and then the rings of Neptune. As far as the Earth part, it was really nice watching that, and just like the government
It was
buildings
nice.
and everything. It just felt super realistic. It was pretty cool. I mean, we can talk about it when we watch the second. We talk about the second movie, but there was like a lot of similarities.
Oh, man.
Between
Yeah,
Solaris and
yeah.
this.
A lot.
It was ridiculous. But the moon, I really enjoyed. I think after the Mars part, I kind of started to question a little bit of the science fiction stuff, but I was really impressed with the moon base. I think that one, it's something that I haven't seen in a while in like a film, a science fiction movie. It reminded me
Yeah,
a
no
lot
one cares about the moon anymore.
Yeah, it's true, moon, but even just like that sort of realistic base, which is not like super, like there's these great shows on Netflix and everything that I watch that have like the far, far future where it's realistic, it's lived in, and these bases are not like very Star Trekky, but it is the the far, far, far future. It's not like the immediately. It reminded me a lot of, I read this book, it's a trilogy. I read only the first book and kind of got bored in the second one. It's the Mars trilogy. It starts with the red Mars, and it goes to green Mars and blue Mars. I would recommend it. It's about colonizing Mars, and it starts off with the first people who are sent. It's like a group of like scientists and everyone, and they're sent off to the Mars to colonize it. And it's starting off with the difficulties of living there and everything. But the grand conspiracy is that on that ship there was a stowaway, Coyote, who starts off his own colony on Mars, and then it develops in like generations of the people, and their kids and their offspring, and how it develops the culture, and it's just pretty crazy, like pretty hard sci-fi, and this movie kind of reminded me a lot. Even talking about the space elevator, there's this great event in the book where they build a space elevator on Mars to have easy access, delivering goods up into the spaceships, without using fuel to get off the gravity. Like that's the main benefit of a space elevator. But the counter terrorists, the terrorists of the movement, the Free Mars, whatever, they blow it up. So the elevator kind of cracks and breaks apart, and then it starts falling onto the Earth. And it's so long, it kind of goes almost all around the planet.
So are you telling me the elevator goes from Mars to Earth?
No. The Mars, it goes up to where gravity isn't strong enough, right?
Oh, okay.
You build like an elevator because basically the thing you want to save on is the most of the fuel that you waste on
entering the atmosphere,
just leaving the gravity of the planet, because you need the most power. Once you're in vacuum, gravity's not controlling, you don't need that much power. So to save on that, you build an elevator which uses, the elevator system. Things goes down, it pulls things up. You kind of use the power of. But anyway, they blow
the power
it up,
of love,
and it keeps falling and just falls on the equator, like just around the Earth. And there's like the Great Belt, and like that's part of the story. And sometimes the characters visit it. I don't know. I just want to recommend that.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
What's it called?
It's the Mars trilogy. I think it's Red Mars is the first book, I think, called.
These
that
are
was the most
novels by
interesting.
Kim Stanley Robinson.
Exactly. Available in audiobook as well. But watch out.
First
There's a lot
released
of
in 1992.
So there's a lot of
what?
descriptions of
Charts?
No, not charts. It's just like, and then the Mars sun was gleaming red as the. It goes on forever, man. I was like, sometimes I was just like, what is this? Just stop. I mean, I understand you want to, it's a foreign planet. And the trilogy goes to like terraforming Mars and
Red Mars is 501 pages.
Tim,
Green Mars,
amazing.
571. Blue Mars, 616.
I gave up halfway through Green Mars, unfortunately.
You didn't make the journey.
No, I did not.
Speaking of which,
these books, it's going to take some time.
Yeah. Speaking of which, did anyone think about like Apocalypse Now? That's what the story felt like to me in this movie.
Oh.
Like the Odyssey, the Greek tale, right?
Oh, I don't know.
Isn't that what that's based on? Apocalypse Now, isn't that like the Odyssey?
I thought it was based on The Heart of Darkness, it's a novel.
Oh, but I guess that's like, the travels of
right,
going
right.
Odysseus.
But then he has to come back home.
That's true. Let's kind of just goes to his
because like
dad.
I thought it was like when I was watching the movie, I was like, this feels a lot like Space Odyssey. This is like not Space Odyssey, like Apocalypse Now, because he has to meet his dad, and his dad might be like crazy, like Kurt's in Apocalypse Now, and
that's his dad.
No,
okay,
no, it's not. But
no, it's not. It's just a crazy, whatever. Like
crazy guy who's like out in the wilderness somewhere, And so I thought it was the same thing. And man, when the final confrontation happened, when he meets his dad in that space station, everything's turned off. There's dead bodies floating around, and he's there. And I was so afraid it was going to turn into the cheesy sort of "no, my plans" or something. It was going to be like a fist fight, or they're
like
going to start
Hollywood.
choking each other.
Will not stop me.
Yeah. That's what I was so afraid of that.
Me too. I had the same feeling.
But it's interesting that the final showdown, it's kind of climactic, but in a good way. It's just you're I guess, what were your thoughts throughout the movie? What were you expecting the thing to be? Is he going to find his father? Because I think it's kind
I
of
feel like
built up.
because it's Tommy Lee Jones, he's going to find him.
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's true.
I think
they show the photographs. Oh, Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
The more we learned about what's happening, I think the more I was sure that he would, and I felt like that's going to be, kind of the focus of the film.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't really think that
okay,
wouldn't
you
happen.
weren't thinking in front, because it's interesting that it kind of way played out. It wasn't, the cheesy, I did it all for you, so then you can be a future. It's just like I wanted to prove there's aliens, and I didn't care about anything else, and I didn't find them, and I don't want to go back. Fuck you, Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
I didn't care for you.
Yeah, it was, and then
very
in the end,
nonchalantly.
he didn't even save him. It's just like, it's just that I don't
mean,
know.
you can.
I'm wondering.
For
what
me,
was
I could
your-
understand his perspective. He just felt like if he's not like, I don't know, like if I was him, I would be like, why would I go back to Earth if this is my entire
Right.
mission?
Yeah, because
And I'm not going to kill anybody to do it, but but still, it's like I feel like this is my duty to go and keep going and until I die. So
Yeah.
why would I go back and be a failure because I failed on my missions? That's how I understood what
because
what
the
he was
father
going through.
thought that his research wasn't completed, and he thought he's going to keep going until because he was so convinced, And I think they didn't even actually answer that question in the film because he brought back like data and photographs that there wasn't any intelligent life. But obviously the movie didn't say conclusively, because Brad Pitt, I think, a little bit jumped to conclusions. He's like, now you know that there is no intelligent life. But I think, again, like, wasn't there some limit to like Tommy Lee Jones's character? Like, he can't see. I mean, it's very
his
difficult,
space
right,
is
to
so
see.
big. Like it's
so big.
he did search a couple of planets that are close, but like the space is so big. Like
I mean, it's so
there's
vast.
a good chance there's nothing around us in the surrounding galaxies, just because the space between galaxies is so big.
Yeah.
He got a little bit closer, but
I like the juxtaposition because Brad Pitt's character, he was a man of space too, somewhat. But
A man of space.
A man of science, and a man of space. But I think
he
over
was
time,
a good spaceman. He even put to shame the deputy of the ship when he had to land for him.
Yes, he was a good spaceman.
That guy sucked.
But his perspective was like,
Who?
I think
The co-pilot,
the
whatever,
captain,
the rocket.
co-pilot? Yeah, those
He's
guys
basically
basically
got them-
annoying.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
They,
Well,
they
'cause-
should
'cause-
put, like, if this was the most important mission, they should have put someone more.
I mean, it was a
Truthful.
secret one, wasn't it?
That's true.
Maybe that's why they couldn't get the top boys.
That's true.
I want to say that
Top
Brad
boys.
Pitt's perspective was that, yes, maybe, or maybe not, but that wasn't his sort of, that wasn't something that was going to determine the course of, I guess, his life, right?
Mhm.
Where Tommy Lee Jones was just a person who had this like one goal, and
He was done with everything
totally
else.
calloused with the he looked at it. I think I would say it was almost like the superiority complex type thing, where
Mhm.
he was totally the opposite of humble. He was completely proud and saying like, you know what, I'm gonna find the answers. All of these petty, stupid humans back home are just doing stupid things. He's like, I'm gonna go, be the one to look beyond, And then in doing that, he totally, and that's kind of the point of the movie, right? He missed what was in front of him, his kid, his wife, and so on.
And the narrator had to tell us this. Brad Pitt had to tell us.
Brad Pitt had to tell us.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't know.
we wouldn't know. I mean, it was too far fetched to think his personal. Yeah, that's.
But again, I like the tone the movie conveyed, because it really did feel sort of. It felt like it was like this very lonely experience in my interpretation of it, you know. And I like how they show at the beginning, right? Like they're so hopeful, this crew that's going on to search for intelligent life, and it's like everything's happening, and he's so excited, right? And there's like even references like to God and stuff like that, right? Like, oh, this is gonna be so hopeful. And then towards the end, you just realize, like, my goodness, these guys are up there for 16 years. Like, he kills
I have
this
3
crew that's
questions.
empty. It was kind of interesting to see, because it was like that's also kind of what happens sometimes with any project, right? Like, you're so excited at the beginning, and then over time, like, people aren't interested, nothing happens, it's desolate, and it's sad. It makes you so sad, right?
When it's not working out, you either go like, okay, we'll give up and everything, or
and this is like the biggest question, right, in the universe. Like, is there life? But that was something they conveyed really well. When Brad Pitt gets there, it's like, wow, like, this is just so sad.
Yeah.
You
But
get some questions.
They
Phil?
did get to They did go to Neptune. That's pretty cool.
That's true. Did they go to
I bet
Neptune?
you could
But-
bring a telescope there and then shoot into more, like farther into the galaxies.
I mean, I'm a
you
little
wanna say,
bit
Phil?
questioning that. Why didn't they just shoot like a nuclear missile that just go all the way to Neptune and blow it up? But still, why did they have to bring in a
I guess
box?
they wanted to
It's-
keep him alive. They didn't want to kill.
No. But
Kurt.
the crew. Oh, they wanted to like rescue him and just blow up.
Yeah.
the-
I mean, he's a
Yes.
hero. Remember that? Everyone
they-
loves him.
But no,
Well,
they
no,
knew.
but then they found out that he killed.
They knew he lost his damn mind.
But even so, I don't think.
Even before they knew. I don't know.
Oh
if you-
yeah, it
if
was
you caught
secret,
that.
wasn't it? Yeah.
It was a
Okay,
secret,
yeah.
and they didn't want to let everyone know that he lost his damn mind. So they made him. Oh, he's lost, but he's a hero, right?
Did you guys catch
Oh, okay.
when that happened? The murders.
The murders? I
Yeah,
think
when
it was
was
just
that?
like when they reached Neptune, probably. Because no,
Oh.
here's the thing. They reached Neptune, and the guys were like, they did tests because they were like, and they didn't find anything. So the guys were like, this doesn't make any sense. Let's go home. And he was like, no, we must continue. So they tried to do like a
We'll
coup,
go to
and
Pluto.
they were messing with
Pluto's
the
not a
system.
planet.
They were messing with the propulsion system, right? And they broke it, and he got angry, so he killed them. But then he couldn't fix the propulsion system, and he was messing around with it, which caused the pulses.
Because I was confused because there was a lot of intercutting between him being sort of younger and him being older. I couldn't tell.
Oh, when exactly did he kill them? It could be anywhere
later,
from
maybe.
first year to 16 year. Like they could have just stopped at Neptune. Like it doesn't mean like, they traveled to Neptune, because I think it said like 70, 90 days for Brad Pitt from Mars to Neptune. So I think,
wait, were they supposed to travel even further?
I didn't catch that. I think I just
They
know
didn't get to Pluto.
Phil, you and your Pluto.
Pluto's the
Pluto from
planet.
Disney. Well, you want to ask some questions, Philip?
Yeah.
I did. I have 3 questions. All right.
Okay, go.
So, first one was, how far into the future is this? Because if I was always wondering that, because they said it's the near future, but considering Tommy Lee Jones, Clifford, the big red space cadet, went to Neptune. What was it? 37 years ago?
What?
Was
No,
that
16.
what it was?
What? 16.
16 years.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, like so that that doesn't make sense because that would make Brad Pitt 26. 30.
Yeah.
30. That would make Brad Pitt 30. And he's not 30. He's
no,
50.
like it was like let me see. I'm looking at Wikipedia here.
Check it. Check the deets.
But guys, I did find an interesting fact, right? Remember
Lima
that
Project, baboons.
National Geographic magazine where it says like, is there life out there? And the dad character wrote like, yes, 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 in marker. Remember that?
Yes,
There's a ship. That is actually a real cover of National Geographic from I think around 2004. So if you do the math,
it says on the Wikipedia 2014.
Wait, this
it's
is
2020.
2014?
Says.
No, he
No.
left in
The
2014.
National Geographic article.
Oh, sorry,
from
14. I'm sorry, yeah,
magazine.
Phil. 2014.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Sorry,
thank you.
don't want to.
So plus
Thank you.
16, that's 2030.
Okay,
I mean,
sure.
I don't know.
Let's
Whatever.
go.
16 years. Let me think. Let me see. This.
16. I'm pretty sure they.
I heard. He
long
said
years.
37. He said something like 27, 31 years ago or something.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't
Because
think
I just remember from like he was lost for 16 years. You know, that's what right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what we
they
heard,
stopped. Like, didn't. Man, I can't
okay.
see any.
I think it's not super important.
Well, I can't remember, but that was one of my questions. I just wanted to know how far into the future this is, because when I heard like 30 years, I was like, okay, that must mean that this must be like 2057 or 2070 or something like that. That's what I
don't
thought.
think it's that important.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one was, because this was unclear, did Roy, did he do like a sleep? Like did he sleep for those 91 days
Well, on the way
Yes.
there
to get to Neptune?
remember he was putting that feeding tube in his
Yeah,
belly?
yeah.
I thought
I thought he was preparing to sort of like hibernate, to do a cryostasis kind of deal, because
well,
I
on the
couldn't
way
tell.
back, they
It felt like
kinda
a
cheated.
montage.
He was just like, and he has a beard. Like that was like the cheat. It's
Yeah,
been
okay.
a long time. Yeah, I think so. Probably. I mean,
I don't know. I
Because
think he was
I-
up. He was just sleeping normally, I thought.
That's nuts, man. 91 days, I wouldn't be able to do that.
no, I think no. I think he was like put into like. I'm pretty sure you can put yourself into like sort of hibernation even now. Like,
Really?
put yourself into like a lower state of.
Yeah,
Like-
lower your heartbeat. His heartbeat
I
doesn't
mean,
go
if you
very
think
high
about it,
in the
right? If
movie
you
anyway.
are, if you suffer a coma, right? Isn't that similar?
Yeah, I mean, like a manual induced coma. Like that's pretty
Yeah,
dangerous. But
sounds-
maybe in
yeah,
10
sounds very
years they
dangerous.
figured out how to do it.
I don't know.
That
I
could-
like
yeah,
the idea.
so
I like
that
the
was
idea
all.
That,
That was my question, and I have one more question. But go on.
Yeah. What's your question?
I just want to say that
No, Tim,
before you ask the
Jacob.
question, I just want to say that I like the idea that there wasn't any cryo sleep, because then it was like adding to the idea that, now Brad Pitt's character has to sort of think about the things that he did, and
For 91
it
days.
makes it. But listen, it makes it very intense. Like that's a very when I was watching it was like heavy. It was like, "Oof, man, like it's really
Yeah.
intense.
Like he's preparing a speech for his papa.
Okay, Jacob I mean, you can
We should
have
ask the
your
director. Can we get
opinion,
him on
I
the
can have
podcast?
mine.
We should.
Yeah. James Gray, come over.
James Gray.
And my third question,
Mhm.
did you notice that Brad Pitt's beard was CG? And
No, was it?
yeah,
Looked
I
fine.
mean, to me, it looked like it was computer generated. I'm like, oh, it's
I did not
wow, too.
notice.
I thought it was just real. Or
It was just funny
makeup.
to me. I noticed it because it was like he's clean shaven the entire time, and he's like spending days on spaceships, and all of a sudden he's like beard man. It felt like it. Don't worry, it took him a long time. You nerds looking at this, here's the
Yeah.
beard to prove it.
It's too trimmed too, but yeah,
Beard.
I did think that is a CG beard, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna see if I'm right because it really looked CG, and I felt like, ooh, people are gonna know, but I guess no one did.
While you search for the fake beard, I have one last nitpick that I want to. It's not a nitpick, and it's a coincidence that it's a set dressing. So when he's on Mars, he goes to this special room with a microphone to send the message, right? To
Right.
his papa, a radio message. Now, what got me questioning this whole device and this whole idea of him have to send this special message from Mars was the fact that the room he was in, I recognized.
Yeah, it was like
What?
it was one of the most quietest rooms in the
Quietest?
world.
Exactly. I remember watching a YouTube video when these guys go and it's like the most quietest room has like minus dB and it's just done for testing of like
Devices
sound
and
waves.
stuff like that.
And it's hilarious. It got me thinking like, okay, so if this is the most quietest room and now they have it on Mars, why the hell is he there? Like what like that,
Yeah.
that serves no purpose except it looks cool as hell. That's the only that's
Right.
like the Hollywood thing just kind of kicked in there for a second. Like, what's the point? What his message needs to be super like no echo.
Is this
You
the
know-
one? It says Eckel Industries is an acoustics noise control company founded in 1952. And
Yeah,
they
probably.
say, wait 1 second. It's called the quietest room on Earth. I see on
Yeah,
Wikipedia.
yeah.
It has these like foam.
Look at the photos; you'll recognize it immediately.
Yeah.
You see the grid floor because the cushioning and the sound.
Yeah, the grid floor.
displacement
Yeah,
goes.
yeah.
See,
So you think that's actually that's it?
I
you
know.
think?
I noticed that too. Yeah,
maybe it's the
I was
same.
like, all right,
or
cool.
either it's inspired by it, but it looked exactly like it. But it was just funny to me that he's there. But like,
Yeah.
like I understand.
What's
like
the
Mars
point? Yeah.
Mars is closer to Neptune, right? So I guess the signal reaches there, but like it's just like, come on, It's just no, you can just do it from the moon, man. Like,
Right.
what the signal
Also-
needs extra couple like the Neptune is so far away from Mars compared to Earth.
When they went
like,
to
that's
Mars-
hilarious. Yeah.
When they went to Mars, I thought, oh yeah, this reminds me of Doom. Remember Doom?
Oh yeah,
Remember Mars?
I was
and
thinking,
the
yeah.
zombie aliens.
dude. I wish there was a good Doom movie. I wish that like, but
Oh,
they
there's a
don't-
new one coming out. Did you know that?
But are they doing the demon thing?
I mean, they better do the demon thing.
You know what's the story of Doom?
Yeah, it's
right?
demons from
like
hell
the
coming
demons,
into onto
they
Mars.
attack Mars and they
The
mess
portal's
things
been
up.
opened.
Well, yeah, basically they're building a portal system to travel through planets, like fast travel, right? But accidentally they work on this portal instead of
Oh, that's right.
putting the portal from Mars to I think it's Earth. They open up a portal to hell, and just demons keep crawling in,
Yeah.
and kill everyone. And Doom guy, he's like, screw this, and he starts killing all the demons, which is amazing premise, and I can't believe. Also reminded me of did you guys watch a movie? Shit, I need to remember what's it called. It's with Alan Grant.
Mm-hmm.
What's the actor's name?
Sam Neill.
Sam Neill.
It's called Event Horizon, right?
Oh, we need to watch that. Phil, did you watch that?
No, but I had a friend,
We
his
should
name was
watch it.
Thomas Wack, and we kept talking about Event Horizon because he watched it many times, and I'm like, yeah, someday I'm gonna just wake
We should all
Jacob up in
watch
the middle of the
together.
Maybe we
night and
should
go,
for the podcast,
guys,
yeah.
Event Horizon.
It's got some hilarious CG, but I remember watching this when I was younger. Scarred me for life, man.
Really? Some scenes?
Yeah, because I watched this when I was like 10
yeah.
ish, 11, 12. Lawrence Fishburne is in. Oh yeah, I remember, man.
Yeah.
It's a
And
good
Jason
movie.
Isaacs.
I'll remember if I. Oh well, I think it's a good movie, but there's some creepy ass imagery, and I think the thing is the same. They were like trying to do interstellar travel, but instead of going through they just went through some weird freaky ass dimension, and the ship came back, and it's just all whack. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
it's the only movie that Paul W.S. Anderson
Well, I'm
made that
looking
was
at some
apparently
images.
really
It
good.
seems like some brutal stuff in Event Horizon.
Ah!
Like there's like there's like floating bodies, and there's just some weird imagery. I
What
need to watch
kind
this
of
again. I
film
haven't
is
seen this
this?
in a long ass time. I think it's on Netflix, by the way.
It
Is
is
it like
I
some
think,
kind of
yeah.
quasi horror? Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Science
it's a
fiction
horror.
It is a horror sci-fi, I guess. I don't know. Definitely.
Yeah,
There was some when I was watching this Ad Astra. It kind of reminded me of some stuff like, oh, is it going to be like that? Especially when like the monkeys kicked in.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
giving that sort of vibe. Like there's going to be something sinister. Like
Portal to Hell.
not maybe Portal to Hell, but like Tommy Lee Jones went beyond, and
Yeah.
and he's came back, and he's all like half demon, half alien.
Yeah,
half, like,
man, I'm so glad it's not that.
kill all humans.
Well,
I'm
let's
so
see.
glad it's not
Here's the blurb. So, Event Horizon in 2047, a group of astronauts are sent to investigate and salvage the starship Event Horizon, which disappeared mysteriously 7 years before on its maiden voyage. With its
You see?
return,
You
the
see?
crew of the Lewis and Clark discovers the real truth behind the disappearance
Lewis
of
and
the
Clark.
Event Horizon and something even more terrifying.
Exactly. See,
Something even more terrifying. So yeah, there is a Doom movie coming out called Doom Annihilation. There you go.
Wait, the little tagline is infinite space, infinite terror.
Terror. I knew it.
Okay.
I don't think anyone can reach the great tagline of "No one can hear you scream in space."
No,
Oh, man,
yeah,
that's so good.
It's just too good. God damn.
Is there anything else we wanted to add about Ad Astra?
Look at your pun. Look at your pun.
The music was great. I like the sound design, the music. A friend of mine, his name's Patrick.
Interstellar a few times.
Yeah, I wanted to ask. I didn't see Interstellar. Tim, you have, I believe.
Yeah.
And what
was that for?
Would you say without spoiling it? Like, do you feel some similarities, some differences,
Mhm.
different categories?
There's
or
a
what?
lot more similarities to Solaris, I would say, and it's funny just watching these two movies and thinking about other sort of personal journey through sci-fi kind of movies, just how it all kind of goes back to Solaris. But it's a classic thing of a really amazing movie, and then just the director pisses me off at the end
Mm.
because he can't handle. He just has to Hollywood tie it up in a knot.
He can't.
Yeah.
He can't leave it open
And
ended.
he
Right?
just can't help himself. I don't understand why he does it.
It's a good question. I don't know.
He like, especially with Solaris, it's like, well, there's some stuff, but it's like, I'm just like, Nolan, please, come on,
Please see.
be greater, be
Please see.
greater. But a lot of people go see his movie, and I think, remember when Inception came out, and we're like, oh my god, it's so confusing, isn't it amazing? I'm like,
Yeah, I remember that.
like that's what you get out of that. That's the At least I really want to know.
Yeah. There are a lot of people that were so they were mad at the ending of Inception because is it real or not? And I hate it
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Make up your own mind. That's the whole point. Just the whole point of the ending. Just decide. What do you think? That's the whole point. I don't.
yeah.
I don't know what else I would want to say.
I don't know anything personal here's the thing, like these two movies that I watched today are the type of movies that and I would like to add another movie that's sort of similar in the vein that came out a couple of years ago. It's Arrival. It's a sort of similar kind of
It's
personal
the
journey.
alien language film.
personal journey through science fiction. It's a Denny.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's not go down that path. But
Are you excited for Dune?
yeah, man, so much. But let's okay. But here's the thing: it's one of those movies that it does two things to you. Is one, it puts you. I don't know. This is a subjective kind of opinion here, but when watching a movie like that, it puts you in a strange mood where for the next couple of days you're sensitivity of surroundings and life kind of heightens.
What movie does?
These kind of movies.
Oh yeah.
Solaris or this or Arrival or Space Odyssey 2001 or whatever it is, where it's a personal journey that kind of questions, reality and philosophy and kind of things through sci-fi when it's like slow and there's a lot of like kind of mood things going on and environment, and it's just like I feel for a couple of days like I question everything and I'm thinking about my life and I'm thinking about what my beliefs, like it's pretty crazy. That's one thing that what a movie does, and the second one is that gets the conversation going. Like if you talk to someone about a movie, it's like ooh,
Well, I think what's interesting about movies like this and the setting when it has to deal with space and the universe, I think that's you can't go bigger than that, right? And so that's why I think when they explore these ideas and these journeys, it really, I mean, it's the same thing for me, like when you look at a photo of Earth, right? Or something like that, or of distances in the universe, of planets and stuff like that. It just naturally gets you thinking about these things, right? And you suddenly, a lot of the stuff, you just zoom out and be like, oh my goodness, like, why was I worrying about something so stupid? Stuff like that. You start thinking about stuff and you're like, man, like, okay, if space is so huge, like, such a tiny part of that, like, my goodness.
Yeah. And I think to me, it's personally because it kind of matches with my own ideology. It's like people look at space and they're like, oh, like it's so big and it's so, it must mean something greater, or, like, oh, we're so, or the opposite. Oh, we're so insignificant. Oh, we're just like, we're trash. Like, let's all be depressed and everything. But to me, it's like exactly the same with the movie. It's like, yeah, we're so insignificant, and that's why you should treasure your little existence, or your real reality, or your little life.
Right.
But I think a rarity, and it's like, it's not a bad thing that we're so insignificant. Well,
and I would also add just that it makes you kind of focus on the things that are important to you more. It puts things a little more in perspective. It reminds you of certain things rather than, sometimes you get wrapped up in little things, where this sort of helps, I think, sometimes remind you of the important things in your personal life.
Well, second time Brad Pitt in a
movie that you chose.
That's right.
I was thinking about this. I was listening to a podcast and somebody asked the question, "Hey, what's a actor that you'll go see a movie no matter what the movie is, because you'll know the movie will be good because of the actor."
Question.
Nicolas Cage.
The thing is, I was thinking of Brad Pitt. He has been a really good run for the last maybe 10, 20 years. I know in the 90s he did some kind of like I'm hot Brad Pitt kind of stuff. Maybe you could count Mr. and Mrs. Smith into that, but like since he got older, it's like that dude's just knocking it out of the park. And he definitely has a few characters. He's got the sexy, cool Brad Pitt. He's got the serious, like, do you remember the Big Short?
Yes.
Brad Pitt's in it. Like he's the old dude. He's like the old accountant.
Yeah,
who
totally
helps
different character than he.
Totally, like,
I need to see that movie.
He's like
I
that
recommend
dude.
it to you, Phil.
And then
I know.
Then he's got the great character, the 12 Monkeys. I'm Kooky Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah.
And this character comes up a few times. Like I think he's in. There's bits of him sometimes, but he does this like kind of like OCD kind of like tick kind of weirdo. And I hopefully before Brad Pitt retires, we get to see that character one more time, because I love that crazy Brad Pitt character. So yeah, Brad Pitt came to my mind. Do you have any actors like that?
Can't think of anything honestly at the top of my head, but I'm
Used to
sure
be
there
Tom
are.
Hanks back in the day, but Tom Hanks is, I don't know.
If I were a kid, it'd be Brendan Fraser. But
Oh, yeah.
by the way, Phil, I wanted to say,
What? Brendan Fraser?
yeah, when I was a kid, he's my favorite actor.
Why? Because the Mummy?
Because I loved him in The Mummy. Yeah,
George the
I think
Jungle?
because when I was a kid, I loved the whole,
Brendan Fraser.
guns and action hero person who just like
joking.
Joking. He's like the cool guy.
Heart of gold.
And that's, by the way, Phil, didn't you tell me like Brendan Fraser, like he came out of the woodworks?
Out of those
happened to him,
shadows.
right?
Well,
Something happened to him.
He tried. I think he had like a
You
financial
remember
thing,
the
didn't he?
Yeah,
alimony.
his wife stole all
You don't
his
know about
money.
the alimony? It's so sad.
Tell us. I want to hear.
So his wife, I'm not on Wikipedia, so I don't know her name.
I know, but just like summarize it.
Yeah, I'm summarizing it that back in 2006, they filed for divorce and they had to, like settle it somehow in court. And the court was in favor of his wife, who had him like pay for their children, and I think, and her, and he would have to pay her every year. I think it was somewhere.
It's a couple of $100,000, right?
No, probably
It's like
millions.
It's like $1 million.
Because here's the problem. When they do that, they give you a price or a percentage of what you're making that year. But let's say if you're an actor,
Yeah, that's
some
the
years
problem.
are good, and
Changes.
some years are bad. So
Yeah.
So yeah, sure. Maybe that year, he had whatever mummy
It's gonna run out
and
fast, though.
a couple of millions, but then next year you get no deals. You have no money
Yeah.
to
What
pay, them, but you
happens?
still have
And-
to.
Yep.
So he was in trouble, right, for a long time.
Oh yeah, he was in trouble for a long time until 2017.
Did
Did
he
they
come back?
settle?
Is he
From
in the movie or something?
2006, so it's like 11 years.
11 years of.
Did the kid grow up or something, or what?
Yeah, I think that was
Okay,
it.
Wow.
so no more paying. Okay.
And it was 50,000 a month, 25 for the wife, 25,000 for child support, and 900, and then an annual total of 900,000
Wow.
a year.
It's almost a
So-
million, right?
That's a lot.
So almost $1 million a year for 10 years.
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
And then
That's
you have,
horrifying.
you have to be
Dude.
like Robert Downey Jr. kind of
Yeah.
rich to
But
pull
even
that
then,
off.
remember what happened to
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. before, right?
Yeah.
Bad, like
Bad
you know.
stuff.
Yeah, bad stuff. Yeah, you have
Crazy.
to be.
But anyway, I don't have another actor I can think of at the moment. But
That's
I was
okay.
trying to think of mine, and I can't think of anyone except someone who's like Nicolas Cage or something.
Well,
I mean, there's
you-
some
what?
solid
He
actors.
makes like so many movies a year. You can't watch.
And I
all
don't
the
see
movies.
any.
Yeah, you don't see any.
Okay.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay.
I can't think of anything.
That's totally fine. I was just wondering. It came to mind. Like, just coincidence because I thought of Brad Pitt at that moment.
But I think there is someone, and I can't tell.
There probably is. Maybe it's a director. Maybe it's a producer. Who knows?
Can't
Doesn't
remember.
matter. At the moment, we talked about Ad Astra. Any
We did.
recommendation to who to see it, or
People
Like
who
who-
like the science fiction. But then again, my friend
No.
Patrick. What?
I just want to say that. Go ahead.
No.
You finish your thought. No,
Nothing. My friend Patrick. We were talking about Ad Astra just yesterday because we were playing Monster Hunter, and he liked it a lot. But he also was very much inclined with the science part of the science fiction, and that was one of the things that were bothersome to him.
there are more. I try to withhold my tongue. There are many more things that piss me off, but it's okay.
I would say that I would recommend the movie if you are interested in going to the cinema for an experience.
Yes,
that is
that's a good
something
one.
That
That's a
you
good
haven't
one,
Seen in
yes.
a while, and it made me happy and a little bit hopeful that a major film like this was
the indecisiveness in between the word happy
Happy?
was amazing. I think it's like this made me happy.
Oh, did I say that like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking maybe it's a bit of a strong word, but I just wanted to say like hopeful in the sense that you go to the cinema and it was almost like the movie was made in a traditional sense, in a good traditional sense, where it was taking its time. It was being totally forward with it, saying,
Yeah.
listen, you're going to sit here for 2.5 hours and we're going to take you on this journey that's not going to be just
Journey.
about the dialogue and the plot. It's going to be like,
Yeah.
you got to sit through this stuff and sit through it.
Yeah.
Think, relate things to your life, experience the visuals and whatever is happening on screen, the feel, like I said earlier. And that's what I would recommend. If you're in it for seeing a movie like that in the cinema, I would say definitely go see it.
Yeah, when I finished watching it and he landed back on Earth, I was like, wow, I'm back on Earth. Wow, I kind of missed it,
The journey is over.
Yeah, that's what it felt like to
You
me. And
guys,
also,
what
no
would
one
you say?
talks about the Moon Raiders with the guns.
Moon Raiders were pretty intense.
The Moon Raiders without a face shooting. They're like,
yeah.
bam, bam, bam,
I
bam.
don't know. Like
were they
watching it,
rating?
like thinking back about it, I was just a little bit like, not just looking back at that part, just like the baboon. bit strange, but
What could the raiders be doing? That's why my big question was like, what? What are space pirates? What? Stealing resources? What?
I think so. It's supposed to show like, oh, it's not like all Star Trek. It's just real life, you know.
Yeah, I know.
It's a it's a low security place on Moon. Some people are rolled and they just want to steal the rich people's stuff, you know.
Okay,
It
what
was
about
just
you,
like a
Tim?
reality
So would you
setting.
recommend it, Phil? Like, or what?
yes, I would. But I know that there's people who are very fidgety and they won't pay attention to it very much.
Yeah, I think super hardcore sci-fi nerds might find the more Hollywood parts to be in the way of the great story, and
Yeah.
might go and recommend something older
Hmm.
as better. But if you're a youngster and can't fandom to sit through a Tarkovsky movie, maybe this is a good gateway for you, and then you can move on to greater things, I would assume.
Event Horizon.
Exactly. Event Horizon, Men in Black, and of course,
Alien.
Alien. Yeah,
And
I
Mr.
love
and Mrs.
Alien.
Smith.
Alien
I
is,
love Alien.
is pure perfection.
love it.
I would really like to know if the stuff that I didn't like the narration and stuff, was it studio and maybe the director try to be a little bit more bold, a little bit more courageous, and make something a little bit more classic, and outside things have changed it, but nonetheless, pretty cool movie. It's
Yeah.
nice that it was made. And I'm glad
Yeah.
I got to see it.
Yep.
Yes. Shall we listen to a song?
A song.
Yes. was a nice track.
It was very calming, very
It
ethereal.
was
I think it was appropriate.
Yeah.
For the episode we have and the movies that we watched, it was self-reflecting, moody, and a little bit,
Well, tell us about
minimalistic.
who made the track.
So this is by Meitei from Japan, a dude I have discovered on Spotify. Thank you, Spotify, for suggesting this. Makes kind of, I think the inspiration is just like mellow, chill out music inspired by folklore, Japanese folklore, horror folklore made into sort of very relaxing music. And I've been listening to it in work. It's kind of cool. I like it a lot. I like the sound that he produces. And this track is called Nami. Phil, you are going to Japan, so you maybe you can correct me if I'm pronouncing any of this wrong.
As a matter of fact, it's funny you mentioned that. I've been using Duolingo for the past 100 days to try to get my katakana reading and memorization good. And yes, in fact, I am trying to learn as much as I can before I go there because I figure, why not? Right?
Exactly.
So all I can say is, sugoi desu ne. Sugoi desu ne.
Don't know what that means, but thank you,
Me
Meitei.
neither.
Man. Thank you for responding pretty quick, and we love the track, and
It's very
Totally.
good.
can't wait to hear some more music from you. It's good.
So,
good
guys,
stuff.
did you know that I ran a 5K?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wait,
First time in my life.
wait. You actually did it, or you're joking now?
Yeah. I did.
And you
Did
just
it,
went.
we did it.
And you just went to 5K. That's it.
It was
That
like
bloody man did it.
It was an event where like a bunch of companies and people participated here in Zagreb. It was like a, sponsored run where everyone goes. Every companies go and run. And there was 8,000 people. Kind of a lot. And I ran the 5K, and I'm proud of myself because I did it.
You better be
I'll
proud of
tell
yourself.
I did the 5K in 35 minutes.
Okay, let's do your pace. So you did 5K divided. Where's divided? Wait, so we got was it 35 minutes?
Yeah.
No, this is the calculation. My calculations are wrong.
I'll tell you now. And there's online. The results are online. I'll show you.
Okay, so what's your pace?
What is it?
I'll tell you now. You guys talk for a second.
Oh, okay. So it's 5 kilometers for 35. So it's a 7. That's pretty good. That's
Okay.
pretty good for a
Yeah.
first time. That's pretty good for a first time.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
it- I think it
impressed,
turned out
Jacob. I
pretty
thought
good.
you were gonna I thought you were gonna be exhausted and like, I can't.
Here we go.
How
So
we
it's-
legged the
it's-
next day?
Yeah, 7 minutes and 8 seconds. The pace, average speed is 8.5 kilometers an hour.
Okay, I'm
and
not. I
35
usually,
minutes.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know
I'm
the speed. I
surprised.
usually just go by pace. That's what usually
Yeah,
runners.
I was surprised. It was hard.
Mhm.
I took only like a couple of breaks to walk, and that was like maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes max.
That's what kind of
maybe
slowed down
5.
your pace. I think you probably had like a 6.5 is your natural when you're running. I think the slowing when you start walking, your pace kind of takes a little bit of a dive.
Mm-hmm. And it was interesting. And the question was, how sore was I? Pretty sore the next
Yeah.
day.
Do you have
Just
any
like
blisters?
walking, and just like no, it was
No,
fine.
good shoes then. Good
Mm-mm.
shoes.
Good job.
I
It's great because
annihilated
the
my
shoes costed
That's
like
great, man.
$20. So
All right.
The first time I ran 12K, I annihilated my fingernail. It died.
Ooh.
It was
you mean
black.
toenails?
Toenail, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was wondering.
Man, 12K. I think. Oof, that's,
Yeah. But it's just the natural progression. People run
Didn't you
marathons.
Didn't you run a couple of times as well, like at these events or something? I remember I saw.
Yeah.
photos.
They're around town and everywhere. Usually, like my kind of like perfect run is like 10K. That's like after that, I'm too exhausted. And people run marathons and everything, but like a 10K is a pretty good run for me, especially like in the hills. Like there's some crazy ones.
Wow.
We're just
So 10K
up and down.
basically, you. I'm guessing your time would be like an hour ish or something, or what for 10K?
My pace usually try to keep is 5.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, that's
good.
that's my standard. I
That's
would love
good.
to go under 5, like a 4, but like you have to do
Oh.
interval trainings for that. I'm just really bad at that. I can do like a 5K maybe in 4, but that would be like a stretch. Yeah. I'll be pretty exhausted after that.
Big stretch.
A stretch. Yeah, you have to like it's breathing and just getting your muscles. No, the muscles. When you do like when you have a lot of elevation gain runs, like breathing is not the problem. The freaking muscles are the problem because you're going up the hill and you need that strength to get that body. Like you have no idea how much incline changes how much strength you need. It's just pretty good, crazy.
Well, that's the thing, because when we're running, I was wondering, my goodness, if we're going even slightly uphill, this would be.
Dude, you can feel any percent increase, and you can feel that. It's like, because I think the math of it is like, it does actually add a lot of, more strength.
I'm sure strain. So that was my news I wanted to share. And
that's pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome, dude.
Jacob.
So, yeah.
Very good.
When you come next time, I got some pretty cool. Pretty like a nice 7K run up a hill and down here that I love.
Maybe we should do it.
But you should join. You would enjoy it because it's through nature. It's no concrete, so it's nice.
Well, the good thing about these runs is like, even if you haven't trained or ran, when you're finished, you feel good. Even when you're sore, you're like, this is good.
This is good.
I like it.
Great.
So what are you guys drinking now for Sesh 2?
I've got another from Omnipolo from Belgium. This one has a smaller title. It's just called The Lifers. The Liffers? The Liffers? Lifers.
I don't know. Leafers? Who knows?
The Beefers. It just says here, a fruit sour ale. This is bizarre, this beer. This beer is weird.
Ale.
It's like it's a sour ale, but dude, it's red. Like I pour a little bit, it's like dark red, which is not the usual color of sour. And okay, I'm gonna take a sip again, but every time I do, I just freak out. But let's see.
Sip it up, buddy. That's what we need.
It's like a cranberries. I don't know. Something's really weird about this beer. I wish you could taste it because I'm really having a hard time describing it. It's
have to get
good.
it sometime.
I feel happy. I don't know. Who knows?
Happy, just like me.
What about you guys?
Phil?
I am still drinking my Pilsner, and that's all I have.
Okay.
Good for you.
I'm drinking a beer called Lucifer.
I'm so looking forward to get a description of this because it looked amazing on the photo.
And the graphic is hilarious. It's like, sort of you got sort of like a Microsoft publisher sort of vibe. And you have Satan with his little pitchfork and flames in the background with a yellow background. It says Lucifer Belgian Ale, brewed by Het Anker. 8% alcohol though. That's helpful for our reviews.
That's very helpful.
I think for Solaris,
it's a boost.
You need that.
I need a little boost. That's why I picked it for the second half. And I have to say, it's sort of your classic Belgian ale. The aftertaste, it's like foamy.
Yeah.
That's it.
Before we move on to the movie, I think we have a really, really important thing to catch up on.
Okay.
Last episode, we ended on a very strange note.
Oh no!
Oh, yes, thank you for reminding me. I wanted to tell you guys.
But there was a task. A task
there
given.
Was homework.
Homework, indeed.
Yeah.
Homework
was.
To our man Phil here, and the
Phil's
homework
here.
It wasn't just us. There were other people. There was Frank.
Frank Ireland on Twitter. Yeah. He was waiting, and Phil, don't let him down. Don't let our listeners down.
Don't let Frank even on Instagram. No, was it on Instagram? Someone on Instagram mentioned even the homework.
I think so.
There was a question about Phil's homework. So, Philip.
Yeah.
Do you need me to rephrase the question, or you got the floor, or you got this?
I mean, look, I've been thinking about this entire time, right?
Good.
I have. Don't worry. I didn't let anyone down.
Good.
However, I will have to say that the answer is very mediocre. It's very...
It's okay. It doesn't matter.
It's okay.
It will be very disappointing. You'll be
still an answer.
Of course.
It's an answer. I'm just happy with any answer. I'm happy.
All right. Well, from what I understood, the question was, what is like my masterpiece? What is like the movie that I love to watch and I would watch all the time and I draw
or
inspiration
even what would you
from
like to
that inspired me that
you're a filmmaker yourself, or you want to be a filmmaker?
Yeah.
What is your golden standard? What do you want to strive for?
And these are like the movies that I'm cheating a little bit with one of them, but I think you'll
okay.
you will
All right,
understand.
let's go. Let's hear these.
All right. So the first one is The Lord of the Rings.
Mhm.
Okay.
I have to say, like, that film, I think it came out at a impressionable time for me when I was 13 to 15. So I think that's a very big
Mhm.
part where you're like, wow, there's a movie that was made like this, and the behind the scenes of it when you got to see it and the way it was made, you could just watch it all the time. And I did. When I was a kid, I used to watch this movie, like Fellowship of the Ring came out, and I just kept
Yeah.
watching it over and over. And like every day I was like, I'm watching
Yeah.
a scene and watching that. And the way that, and what was inspiring about it was that it was just people from New Zealand who made a movie, and they made this movie, and it's not just like
Yeah.
this big Hollywood hierarchy. And then there's
Okay.
another movie. There's another movie, and
Oh, wait, we can ask for Lord of the Rings. Would that be the trilogy, right? Like,
yeah, and
overall,
I'm cheating here. I'm cheating here.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine.
How does the as far as inspiration or maybe things you want to work on, how's the fact that it is an adaptation of a really well-known and well-loved material? How does that affect the fact you look up to that movie at all? Does it, how does
I
that
don't
come
know,
into
like,
the?
for
Would
me,
you want to like? Do you find movies that are adaptations better, or that's not a factor at all as far as Lord of the Rings?
it's not a factor, but I know that my strength is not coming up with stories. It's not
Mhm.
writing. For me, it's always been how you're going to make the story, come
I was
to
going to
life.
say, wouldn't you say that's more like the inspiration is the execution, maybe?
Yeah, I just love
Yeah.
watching the movie. I always enjoyed watching the movies. It gives me comfort. I watch it, and I always find something nice to see about it.
Good.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
continue,
Now,
please.
next
This is
one,
very nice.
another one. It's going to be another disappointment for you.
It's okay.
and-
It's okay. You need to preface them. It's fine.
No. There's no. This is all good.
This is all good. Yeah.
and it's Star Wars. It's the original.
Nice.
It's the
It's the
original.
original Star Wars?
It's 4 or 5. I mean, I think 5 is arguably a better film. There's a lot of things that I love about 5, but there's also things about 4 that are endearing, and
That's interesting.
the
So
fact
would
that
you
it
say
was
that? Go ahead.
space fantasy,
So would you say that the original Star Wars? Would you say that that's maybe even more like something you liked than the fifth one?
I don't know, because for me the
Or
fifth
just
one
they're
is
sort of
so
toss-up?
good. I love watching Empire Strikes Back. There's always something interesting to see about that. But there's also
A lot of
something
people do.
interesting about Star Wars as well, the original, because it's just, I remember the last time I saw it, I had goosebumps when Harrison Ford, when Han Solo came in, to help Luke, and I was like, wow, this movie still works. It's so good. It's so
Yeah.
fun. There's adventure. That's what I like about it so much.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask a couple of questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I mind.
I might.
That was great. So Lord of the Rings, I understand because I have similar, I guess, appreciation of that movie of the whole scale. So I understand completely. Well, on the other hand, original Star Wars, I'm a little bit less of a sort of a fan, you might say. I appreciate them for culturally what they are. As far as movies, sorry,
I don't know. For me, they're just so fun to watch. Like, because you told me to find out something that you always come back to. You always see inspiration. You're always fascinated with, and I'm just picking that because it's definitely one
that's
of
okay.
those.
I just wanted to ask: is there something specific, about that movie that you
Yes.
inspires you to implement? Like, there's what's the lesson that you learned from Star Wars that you can utilize for making a movie or telling the story or something?
Well, the way that the movie was made was that it was made with revisions and revisions and revisions. Things kept always changing, and even during the end of the film, when they were editing it, they actually restructured the movie again. So it was always a changing process, and I felt like to have it still work as like a hero's journey adventure film, which still like brings you along on brings you onto that ride, and it still works to me with that music and the emotions and the scale of it, and how otherworldly it is, but how familiar it is because it feels like you're part of it when you're watching it. I think that that whole thing is, that's sort of like these guys that no one believed in to make this movie made it and pulled it off,
Gotcha. Okay.
Makes sense.
Because it's George Lucas. Back then, no one really thought it was going to work. I mean, when the movie was about to come out, cinemas wouldn't want to play it, and Fox had to attach another movie that everyone was expecting to be the best movie to play it instead of
What was
Star
the other
Wars.
movie?
Let me see. It was like The Other Side of Midnight, some kind of drama film. No one remembers.
Crazy how the times have changed. Okay,
Yeah.
so do you got something else besides?
Yeah, I have one more, and this is another no-brainer, and that's The Matrix. Of course.
Matrix.
Of course.
Makes sense, yeah.
So I think you can see a pattern here, and this pattern is there is fantasy adventure, there is science fiction adventure fantasy, and now there's science fiction action. And
Yeah.
and I think we all know about The Matrix.
Those are
The good
picks,
versus evil story.
It is that, but for some reason that sort of thing just makes me happy and it's fun to watch. And when you get into it, you like, especially for me, I just really like it. And I feel like there is a way for it to be malleable. It doesn't have to be super obvious. I mean, these movies they are very obvious with what's bad, what's good. But when The Matrix comes out, remember, like, I do like, aspects of the sequels, and the sequels try to blur that line. So it's not necessarily, strictly speaking, it's going to be good versus evil. Phil's just going to be making good versus evil movies now. We predicted it.
The predictions have come true. Okay, so I got a follow up.
It's just that's what I like. That's what if you played The Matrix, I'd be like, okay, I've seen it too many times. We did a podcast about it, but I still go back to it. Like if someone would release a making of Matrix book, I'll buy it. If someone would release a new edition of The Matrix, okay, I'll go get it.
Gotcha.
Same with the Star Wars and Lord of the Rings.
Okay, so thank you, Philip. I got
one more. There's one more. There's one more.
Cool. See, Phil did his homework. I'm very proud of you.
And this one was a late edition, but I was thinking about it for a long time. And the last one is Jurassic Park.
Ah, yes, Jurassic Park.
Classic Jurassic Park. Good old Jurassic. So we got Spielberg boy here. We got Lucas, Spielberg, Wachowski, sisters at the time, and we got our good old PJ.
Yeah,
Peter Jackson. So I got a follow-up question for you, Phil. So the last of these movies, the most recent one, looks like it's Lord of the Rings 2003.
Oh, geez.
Was there... I know, I'm just saying, you were still 14 when that came out, right?
Yeah.
So all these movies were impressions of a young lad, right? I'm curious, ever since Lord of the Rings, was there a movie that came close to giving you that impression or that inspiration from 2003 to 2019? Is there anything on your map
That's a good
that
question.
came close?
Well, now that's a curveball question. I didn't prepare for this.
I'm just curious.
Hey,
As
Tim,
an
maybe
adult
we can
Phil,
have this for the... No, Tim,
Maybe we'll have to wait for the next
homework,
episode.
Next episode. Homework, yeah.
Okay, so homework again.
Okay,
I
I'm
don't want
trying
to
to-
put Phil on the spot here.
I'm trying to think of it now, but it's difficult.
And I'm so happy that you answered these questions. I'm very happy
true.
about this.
I mean, there's also I think Terminator 2 is one of them too, as well.
Mhm.
And now you can tell they're all like big commercial films, and unfortunately,
It's okay, don't
I
worry.
do like.
We are
that. I
not
don't
judging
care.
here. This is not judgment table. This is not judgment day.
We were just curious, and this is so great. I'm happy that you answer these questions. It's awesome. So homework is what was the homework? Anything from
I know they're very obvious.
2010 to 2019? What did you say, Tim? What was the homework?
Well, 2003 to 2019. Is there anything that you watch that came close to these staple movies that define you as a film watcher and as a filmmaker? That's my question.
I mean, there are more movies, but yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. Was
Nice.
good. So Frank,
This is nice.
write us in. Was this satisfying to you?
Yeah.
If you got follow-up questions, directed at me and Jake, and we will mercilessly
Yes, and we will just
ask
force
Phil.
it upon Phil, and
Yes.
Phil will comply. So it's great.
Yeah, it's good. It's a win-win situation. So
Yes.
I do like the Terminator. That's also pretty good.
The first one?
I mean, I forgot. I wanted to say
Brutal.
Alien is a huge one as well. Alien. I could
the
watch
thing
that
is-
any day.
Alien's good.
Here's the question. So would this okay, now you're kind of going off into more movies.
I know, but I'm trying to vary it up a little bit so you don't
no,
think
no,
it's
good.
just,
But I'm just saying, but because
Philip
but
and his
would this
popcorn
fall?
movies.
Listen, would this fall into the category of what we asked, like, the top of the pops for you, the best of the best? Would Alien be kind of like pretty close, or would Alien fall into the category at the same level
It would.
as? Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Cool.
So, Solaris.
Solaris.
It is time. It is time.
So yeah, Tim, take it away.
I knew about this movie for a while.
Me too.
I want to check it out for a while.
Well, before you begin, can I just say one thing?
Tim's already in his dramatic voice.
Wait, let's listen. Before we
Yeah,
begin,
His dramatic monologue.
the factoid that we have to
Yes.
tell you, dear listener, is that me and Phil watched Solaris, the remake.
Yep, we
Yeah,
did.
That's all we saw, and it was years ago.
We watched it years ago.
Mr. Clooney.
No, but wait. Okay, so here's the thing, right? There's a novel. It's a Polish science fiction novel wrote in the 60s, and there's 3 adaptations to it. There's one before Tarkovsky. I don't know what about it. It's like a weird 60s thing. Then we got Tarkovsky, and then we got the George Clooney one, which I didn't even know existed. It's not a
Yes.
remake. It's just another adaptation, right?
Another
And I think-
adaptation, right?
adaptation, yeah. Adoption. Okay, that's interesting because
Yeah, we saw that.
you
Yeah, we
knew
saw
of the
that in
plot. You didn't
Yeah,
know of the
kind-
movie.
Look,
Okay.
no,
Yeah.
okay. Tim, here's a disclaimer.
But it's been so long that I forgot.
It was so long ago, and I think this was like one of our movie nights at our place, and we had other friends watching it. I was barely paying attention.
Okay.
I watched it, but the thing is, it was I was at that age where I was like watching. I was like, this is confusing. What's going on? So I honestly forgot so much of it, except for some elements.
Okay. All right. So Solaris, made in 1972 by the great Tarkovsky. His name pops up when you're thinking about Bergman and Fellini, and
Who was the
Kubrick,
one to
all
ask you
these
guys?
great
What are
names.
some
Yeah,
of the movies that
Tarkovsky.
he made that he's famous for?
Which other movies that
I'm not
you-
sure, but I have seen one of his films before.
Have you seen Stalker? Maybe.
No. I've
Andrei
seen
Rublev?
Andrei Rublev.
Yes.
Oh,
I've seen it. I'm a proud owner of the badge of I've seen Andrei Rublev.
Good.
I've seen it
I have
once,
not.
so it's difficult to grasp, but it was definitely a film.
So our man Andrei here, Russian filmmaker,
Oh yeah, is that his name?
he saw Space Odyssey 2001.
Oh yeah, Tarkovsky.
And he didn't like one aspect of it, that it was too concentrated on technology, and it felt very sterile and very unpersonal, which was his movies were about from your inner self, about humanity, about experience. So what he wanted to make a science fiction movie that was personal, that was introspective, right? It was driven by character, and it was driven by thought,
Emotion.
Emotion, exactly. So that's why you make Solaris, right?
okay.
So we use this book to adapt it. So Solaris, let me try to tell you the story of Solaris. So
The story of Solaris.
the story of Solaris. So the plot is our man. This is again near future. Don't know what the time is, right? Humans are colonizing space. There's this planet, this ocean planet called Solaris. And we have a little space station right above the ocean doing science research. And our main hero is supposed to go to that station. He's a doctor of psychology, and he's supposed to determine if these tests are useful and he can shut down the station or not, right? This is his mission. And before he goes, his father-in-law, his uncle,
father-in-law.
It's his father, I thought.
is this his father?
Yeah, I think it's his father.
He
He grew up.
Yeah.
There's flashbacks of him growing up with the same.
True, that's
Grandpa
true.
Joe from Willy Wonka.
Exactly. Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka invites a dude who was a pilot who was stationed there, that he was doing a rescue mission, and he saw some weird ass shit.
Yeah, he did.
The ocean was opening up. A 4-meter man flew out of the water, and he was showing them this to our man as information.
Yeah, like through as a recording from a.
Yeah, it was a recording. He showed it to him before he left. He got upset. He didn't believe the man, and this was all in his little idyllic kind of home with lots of nature, horses, children.
Yeah. It was really
everything that is
nice,
human.
actually. Very pleasant.
It is,
Which is
actually,
very
yeah.
deliberate if you listen to interviews. It's very specifically made this way. So then he travels like this to Solaris. No set there, just some close up of some eyes. Unfortunately, technology was
Well, I mean,
budget was also quite
budget also was
small.
Budget was really low, by the way. But anyway,
there's like 4 sets in this entire movie. But anyway,
But I love that.
it's great. It I think it adds to that weird feeling of like isolation and just weirdness. Anyway, he travels.
We'll get to that.
But they did have a wonderful effects shot, though. Like, you have to give them credit for that little effects shot that's showing the space station, the spaceship going down to the station, and you can actually see it.
The beginning effect shots are great. The last effect shot is dreadful. But so he goes to the station. His friend who was working there, he's dead. He committed suicide. There's 2 other dudes, and they look like they're crazy. And they're not doing anything. They're madness. It turns out that this ocean is creating physical manifestations of characters of their life. One of the doctors, we see this weird dwarf midget that comes out for a second. I don't know what that is about.
I was also like, what is that? Okay.
I think there's a child that the other researcher sees. And he sees his dead wife who committed suicide because he was abandoning her and not paying attention to her, which is, a very similar theme we got going on here.
Oh, yeah,
to the
man.
movie. And then basically he's stuck on this ship and he's just dealing with this fact that there's a manifestation of his dead wife, and she's sort of like, she has some memories, and she has the characteristics of that are kind of built from his mind, but she's lost. She's also dealing with, sort of existential crisis because she doesn't know what she is. And it's an emotional journey on this weird isolated space station that he goes through that leads to an ending of sorts.
Of sorts. That is right.
Sorts. Jake is the
talk
closest
to you.
man who saw the ending, so I think he'll be the best to ask the questions because as I was telling description, I have no idea how this ends, to be honest.
Well, we can get to that, but before
I think I do, but we'll.
Do you want to start with the end and then we go back?
Well, I guess maybe we should because
we should.
Maybe I'll try to tell you what I remember. I think he's deciding of what to do, but then he falls asleep, and the incarnation of his wife tells him to nuke the ocean, and then the ocean stops sending these incarnations of humans, so they're free, and he goes to Earth to live on his idyllic little house, but in the end, it turns out it's just another manifestation of the ocean.
No, I thought that the whole ending was.
Are we talking about the ending?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right,
so
strap
I
yourselves in.
I think that it was a little bit of a classic twist, right?
Yeah,
Twist
yeah.
Where instead of remember, his friend is like, I think it's time for you to go home, right, to Earth.
Yes.
And our main man, Chris Kelvin.
Calvin
Yeah, the
Klein.
American names of the.
The American names were. I want
Chris
to talk to you.
Kelvin.
I'll ask you that later. But they he's like, he's
That's
like,
the whole point I want to talk about, by the way. But yeah.
Maybe I should go back to Earth, and then we don't get a very specific journey to Earth.
Yes.
But he shows up at Earth in the idyllic home of his father, or I guess he lives there. We have this, I guess, and this is what I wanted to ask you guys too, is like, is this supposed to be some kind of prodigal son type imagery? I didn't know exactly what that was. But then we pan out, right, from the house, and we see, we're in the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, not
So-
just. Wait. I was already catching on to this because when Grandpa Joe was like, messing around in the house.
With the water and stuff.
The water,
yeah.
and then like he didn't even care about the leaks on the water, and the music was being scary, and I was like, I don't think this is real.
You thought that, because I thought that it was real for a second, and I thought, I was thinking, is his father like destroying his
replicant
books? No. Is he destroying his books? And I thought, oh, this is a twist ending where our main man Kelvin, he's hopeful about like love and humanity, and that was his lesson. And then he comes back to Earth, and his dad's like destroying his stuff, and so he gets super sad.
Oh yeah,
that's
he's burning. Through the research. Wait. Are you saying? Well, are you guys saying that he's always been on the ocean planet?
Well, that's the question that we have to answer or not answer.
Oh, geez, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, he might have been always on the ocean planet. That's one. Or this is just a little twist ending where it's like he doesn't leave Earth. I mean, the planet, but he just sort of stays up there, and he's getting even crazier.
The ocean planet was trying to convince him with the wife to stay there, and he kind of gave up and just thought, "Oh, I'll just give him the whole package, and he'll
I think that might be it.
I thought because of what meth taking Daniel Craig, Russian Daniel Craig was telling him. He was saying that islands are showing up on Solaris now.
Oh, I missed that.
And when he said that, when he said that. That kind of like, I mean, I remembered it. So when at the end of the movie,
it was like middle of the movie. It was just like
no, near the end, near the end. Yeah, I think that was. And then and then I remembered that. So at the end of the movie, and then when I found out, I noticed the weirdness and the music, and then it panned out, and I'm like, oh, those are one of the islands. I guess they're instead of making people now, it's making environments based on what your memories now.
Yeah.
So it's just trapping you in. That's what I thought.
It learned from doing the people, and now it's so advanced. The ocean planet can do. I mean, I have to say that I have a feeling that the whole ending and that science fiction part, that might be something that's strong in the book, while the director kind of was more concentrated on the emotional and the personal journey, and those kind of things were just kind of secondary, and they're just there because that's the plot. It could be that also, Like he was more about those weird scenes and just like the like the conversations and just the feeling.
If I'm honest with you, I think that for me that sort of plot twist ending does not make much. It doesn't make much of a change to the whole film. It's just something that I think that maybe the director. No, you turned into a robot.
You two turned into a robot so hard. You just went like blah, 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 like out of tune.
You did. Okay.
That's what I heard.
So anytime we refer to each other as robots on this podcast, I was
going to just cut this out.
We call each other using different programs. Now we're using Discord. And all these programs, when the connection is low, the bit rate resolution goes down, and you just start sounding like a robot.
And it also speeds up or slows down, so you'll have sounds like this, like. And so when I thought, or maybe you can be like.
Do you think there's like a filter that can do it for you, for like audio?
Yes. You just lower the bit rate and speed it up, and I think you'll get the same effect.
Yeah.
And
so you sometimes hear us as robots.
So when we say, "Oh, you're a robot," we're not criticizing other people's opinions. We're just referring to the audio quality.
So Solaris, what did you guys? What's your guys' journey with Solaris?
Dude, it's such an experience. So bizarre. I love movies like this.
I know.
And it's like,
I hope you bring more movies like this on the podcast.
The experience itself was amazing, right? And I was so tired, I was half falling asleep, and I was still.
Oh, that's even better.
Well, I drank some coffee in the middle to.
I kind of dozed through dreams. I'm pretty sure some of the stuff is my dream and is not the actual movie. But secondly, there's plenty of points I want to talk about this movie. But one of the things is like. Well, I could clearly see the inspiration, and I was talking about Arrival.
Yeah. Can I just ask something before we get into the actual movie? I wanted to say, because this is not super tied into the actual movie itself. Yeah. Did you guys do a little bit of research on the movie or not? Because I'm curious as to the setting of when this movie was made, because it was made in the Soviet Union, right?
Yes.
At the time of the Soviet Union. It's
the
a
glorious
Russian
Soviet
production. I'm curious to see how that worked, considering the political times, and if you guys know anything about that, because the budget is very low.
The budget's very low.
but
at
it's
this
pretty
point-
high.
But honestly,
still.
the quality of the film, honestly, I was very impressed. And that's why I want to know, because I
I
don't
wanted
know
to
much
say-
about Russian cinematography and film history, so I'm not well versed to talk on the subject.
This was post
But I was
Khrushchev
very-
era, and
Uh-huh.
at this point, the sort of control and everything was
Oh,
dying
yeah.
down a little bit.
Really?
So I
Khrushchev
think
was ready in
fr-
72?
From this,
You sure about that?
I think so, because I remember
Seems a
from
bit early.
from Solaris is where he kind of got to experiment, at least a little bit more freer as far as the control of the government of the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And he also was a household name by this point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
So you're saying there was like more freedom?
yes, as far as budget, I know he commented later on in his career that he is a little bit like, he feels that the movie could have get some points across and the technology was the limit. He
Mhm.
specifically says that, like, looking back at it, that technology boundaries kind of limited some of the storytelling and things
Right.
he wanted to do with it, that maybe later on, if he did it, he could have actually get
Because
away
I
with
was
it.
really just amazed at, the acting. I was amazed at how they pulled stuff off and how to think about how they're going to present these very sci-fi elements without having to actually, by bypassing, a lot of utilization of a higher budget. They did a really great job, and the cinematography is like very, very, very good. So that's
but
why I was wondering.
He had his own DP who always worked with him, and they're very
Mhm.
specific on how
Okay.
to. Like, I think they're the way they worked, it was like they like to do their shots sort of like on the day. They just talk about it in the morning and then just shoot the movie.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't have like previs or like storyboards or anything like that. It was a very natural process.
Hmm. Anyway, that's all I
There's some
wanted to
there's some
comment on.
magical 70s zooms, which if you don't
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
movies, there's a lot of
Magical
elements to this
70s
movies that
zooms.
if you don't watch a movie, like an older movie for a while, you forget about these things. Like how slow paced can be, how some shots are
yeah.
long, and then there's the zooms. The zooms are amazing. Like nobody uses zoom except Tarantino maybe these
Yeah.
days, and it's just like, there they go. It's a close up now. And they don't.
There
pan
they
in,
go.
And then this just zoom in.
Zooms out. Let the zooms out.
It's so great.
I
I love it.
I was going to say that I was very pleased with the framing of this movie. Now, I know many people don't talk about framing, but as you know, I always talk about framing because I
You should
believe
talk about framing.
that people nowadays don't know how to use the screen properly anymore. They think it's just a thing to point something at and you get a picture. But no, there's a lot of things you can do with that frame. This movie utilized the 2:3:5 aspect ratio very well. When we were in the idyllic fields, so much wonderful negative space around the characters, and I felt like, 'cause I have a pretty big TV, I'm watching the movie, I felt like I was looking into the picture. That's exactly what these movies have to do. Now I'm watching Godzilla, King of the Monsters, and they're using a
nothing.
2:3:5 on a tall monster, and you get nothing because you can't
get a
even
foot.
frame him. You get a foot,
frickin'
and then what they do is they have the wide shots, they have the middles, right? They
Yeah.
have that, but they don't have. But like, think about the
In-betweeners.
frame.
Yeah,
Think
yeah.
about the frame. Just put a nice composition. I noticed that older movies do tend to put a lot more creativity into how they're going to use the picture. There's creativity involved in setting up the composition, and I
And the
feel like that's
storytelling as well. It's not about cutting. It's not about you can
Yeah.
actually tell a story with the framing.
But there, oh man, I love that. I love it so much. When people do that and there's something in the background, something in the foreground, and you have to use your eyes to look at it. That's so good. It's so if it works well, it's the best. And it's so sad that
It's
we
a
don't
lot
get that
harder,
anymore.
than just doing
Oh,
your
yeah, for
coverage.
sure.
Your close up, your middle, and then your wide, and then just cutting between them. But it pays off, I would say, definitely.
It pays off, man. But then again, who's here to admire it now?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. So, I guess we were talking about our thoughts, but is there anything like before we delve into some of the points? is there anything else like what about you, Jake, that you want to maybe point out about this movie that stuck out to you the most, like your biggest impression?
Well, what I like the most is what I mentioned earlier, is that given the period that it was made in, the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
given that the ideas and the concept that they were trying to go for were quite difficult to, I think, execute well, they did a really good job of
Yeah.
taking the setting and minimizing it into something simple,
Yeah.
but still conveying what they were trying to go for. So, we're on Earth, we go to space. This transition, like you mentioned with his eyes, doesn't matter. That's not part of the movie. It's just he gets there, and now you're in space, and now you're on this distant planet. That's all they were trying to tell us, is that now we're here. This is a totally different world. This is a totally different place.
But that's the cool thing about it. You don't have
Exactly.
a traveling sequence. Oh, he's going far away.
Yeah.
That place is so drastically different than the idyllic little, Russian countryside house.
Yes.
And the way
And that's-
people act and how people move and people just appear at frames all of a sudden. It just gives you that, like, we are on a different planet and it's weird.
Yeah,
You
and
don't
also-
have to do like, we're traveling there.
I love
Traveling
that
there.
They had that feel, and this parallels, similar to Ad Astra, right? Where
Yeah.
this project has been around for, it says, decades on Wikipedia, and you really get that feeling of, just wow, this project has been quasi abandoned.
Oh, yeah.
Last remaining 3 people
Yeah.
out of 30 when it was launched, and everyone was ready to rock.
What do you mean?
And-
We made great progress. This is
I
the
love
most lifelike
The
entire-
eeriness of that, and you see how it's very lived in and already done. And I mean, the details I loved were like, even from like, the old guy like looking for a cigarette,
Yeah.
and they're like old, and it's like, well, like those details are great because you feel like, oh my goodness, this has been ages, and
There's
no one
an-
knows what they're really doing anymore up there.
No, it's just they're like so just at their own device. You know what I loved? You were talking about the lived-in thing. Did you notice that the room he gets is the exact same room that his friend who committed suicide was in? And just a stark difference between his friend, like you look at his our main dude. What was his name?
Kelvin is his last
Kelvin.
name. Chris Kelvin.
He
I
goes
think?
into his room, which is white, and it's got these leather, not whatever, like the padding on the side, right? And it's like super white. You go to his friends, it's like yellow and disgusting and
Right,
like orange. And it's the same room, but it's just like someone's been there for like 20, 30 years and just like lost their mind.
But I just love that they like created this world just by using, like we talked about, a couple of sets. But they conveyed that feel where it's like, who knows when this is? I guess it might be the future, from the point of the view of the 70s. And
But
you
it
can
was-
see like, yeah.
It was very, very close. Like, it was like the only thing that was different, like obviously besides space travel, was they had like the video conferences stuff. That was it.
But I like that. But
That,
it's
that
cool
was it.
because
Like when his friend is going away, he's like going through the crazy mega city, and it's just Tokyo,
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I wanted to ask you guys. Was that,
I was
what
like,
was that?
yeah.
It was just Tokyo.
Was-
Yeah,
Just Tokyo,
or
right?
maybe- I think it-
Asakusa.
maybe it was China. What was it? What was it, Phil?
It's Tokyo, man.
But I'm
It was
confused.
Tokyo,
Did they
yeah.
live in Tokyo or what?
I think it was meant to be.
No,
like
it was supposed to be like
futuristic
a futuristic city.
Huh.
So they
Tokyo
used
was
to
the
that.
most futuristic city of
That's
that
what I thought,
time.
yeah.
So
I
they
thought
just
for a
did
second that
Tokyo.
they were going for like, oh, Japan's so strong, like how in Blade Runner, right? Like
Yeah.
everything's gonna be
Oh, yeah.
Japanese influence. I thought that was what they were going
But
for.
that's my point. That's my point, because everyone has Western. Sorry, excuse me. Everyone has Western names in this thing, right? Yet they all speak Russian.
Right.
Now, there's two options that I have here. One, it is the Blade Runner thing, is that Russia is the superpower, and it's like English. English became the main language of the world today, but Russia made the thing, and these are like can be Americans, anyone. They're all speaking Russian, and it's like the
Oh man.
future where Russian is the main language. That's one. Or the second thing is, and I like this a lot. It makes me think of like languages in movies, because we'll watch a lot of American movies, right?
hmm
And usually, number thing is non-Americans speak their own language. You have subtitles, right?
Yeah.
Or secondly, you have Americans speaking in different accents.
In different accents, yes.
But there's always a specific thing. There's never like, because of, I guess, cultural insensitivity of the olden ages. Well, everyone just speaks English. But on the other hand, it's like, it doesn't really matter. Like this movie, they all could have been speaking English. But in the sense you're watching a movie and you're Russian, because this is made in Russia and you don't understand it, they're all speaking Russian. And it's got nothing to do with reality.
You're
you know what I
confusing
mean?
me.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you're looking through this world through a window of a movie, right? And these guys have all Western like English names, right?
English names.
So in their reality, they could speak English, right? But you don't want to put subtitles on. It's like
No.
it's already
Right,
like
okay, yeah.
pre-dubbed. You know what I mean? Like you don't even think about it. Like this is a Russian-made movie. Obviously, you're going to speak Russian because the viewers understand Russian. But this is the future, so they have Western names. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like,
I think so.
that's something
So.
I thought about.
Yeah, that's what I like though about the movie is that a lot of these things are very surreal and undefined, and I think maybe that's even intentional, where you're watching the movie and you think like, like what exactly is this future? Where exactly are they? And that's sort of regardless. It's beside the point. The point is what happens in the movie.
And what happened, Jake?
Yeah.
Well, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, he gets up to the space station. And,
We know this.
Yeah,
I'm
wait,
joking.
Phil.
Phil lost his mind.
Yeah, I mean that's what I wanted to ask you guys. Like, what was your sort of experience with the movie being so, in a sense, surreal and not really giving you a lot of answers? Yeah, what did you guys think about that? With the whole sort of this entity, I guess, intelligent life that was manifesting in these projections, and itself being confused, and our characters on the ship not knowing what to do or how to approach this, some looking at it scientifically, some losing their mind. Like, what did you guys experience with this?
I'll let Phil answer after me because my short thing is that I enjoyed losing my mind with the movie as well. I loved losing sense of time, cohesive thought, and a sense of reality with the movie. I just like it kind of it melded with it. Like my reality went with it, and I was like, this is cool. I like it. The way the scope and the long ass time of it just had the effect on me, and I enjoyed it. What about you, Phil?
I just was along for the ride, but I tried to keep my sanity. So I was thinking about it, and I thought, and I know this is probably very controversial, but I'll say it anyway. The movie did not have to be 2 hours and 47 minutes long.
Well, there
This
was
story-
that scene when
this story was
he's riding through
concise and-
Tokyo, that could have been shorter. To be
Well, yeah,
honest.
but I felt like the entire film, I liked it, but I felt like it's a concise enough story that you could have made it maybe an hour and 47 minutes. And I feel like the only reason why it's so long is because of the long cuts and the long takes and the slow movement. And to some people, that's probably great. But to me, in this case, for this film, I wasn't that interested enough for it to for me to tolerate that length.
I think
for me,
yeah,
go ahead.
No, I just wanted to retaliate to Phil that I understand your way of thinking, but I think it is specifically for this movie that it works. Like older movies used to be longer, and also this director is famous for having really long ass takes where nothing
Oh man,
is
I watched
happening.
Andrew Rublev. Don't worry.
So there are specific things, but I think for this, like what I was talking about, that the way it's made is like a strength, or it adds to what it's trying to say. So I think it's a plus. I don't think
Yeah.
Okay.
it might not have worked as well as it did if it were shot differently. That's just
I
my
agree, actually, with
that's
this,
just my
yeah.
Okay.
And I
but what do
think,
you want to say, Jake?
I just want to say that what I liked probably most is that the film is very bold in not explaining anything, and I think that's the strength of the movie.
No
But
narration?
that's a great
No narration. There you
no
go.
narration,
Isn't that
yeah.
amazing? He
And
does
it's
do
great
some
because-
introspective stuff. He's talking to the
Yeah,
other
but
scientists. oh, is it love?
It's nice
Is it-
because,
yeah.
you know, even when they have scenes in the film, and especially towards the end when they're getting more about like existential and
Yeah.
they're getting the whole movie, it almost like it sets a tone, but it doesn't set a tone at the same time, where you're constantly just wondering like, man, what in the world do these characters even think? You have no clue. But that's why the movie, I think, works, you know? And the nice thing about it too is that I never got the impression that the movie was going to turn a strange corner and be, you know, too scary or too extreme. I like that actually about that because it was atmospheric, but in the sense where you almost felt like, you know how in some movies, the aliens or the intelligence that we don't know about always becomes hostile, right? That's a very classic film trope.
Like they're
This is a great example.
sinister in the end you find
Yes.
out, yeah.
Yeah, or there's something behind it, it's like where you can't trust them, but then they kill you. But
Yes.
this, for instance, is a great example of like an exploratory story where it's so mysterious that you don't have a clue even what the, you know, intelligence
what
is
are they
thinking.
doing?
What are they? But they're not hostile, but they're engaging with these characters.
Yeah.
Talking. They're also trying to figure some stuff out. Maybe they're confused. Maybe this intelligence doesn't know even how to, you know, manifest
Drive
itself
a car.
correctly, or
Yeah.
who knows. And that's the whole surreal element of the movie that works, I think. And that's what I want to say that adds to the slowness, is that you're just like sitting there and like, you know, you're in this
Taking it in,
strange
yeah.
environment. You're like, especially that scene when they're at the library at the end. Like, I like that they actually had these characters. They're still like,
Wait, what happened in the library again?
well, I'm just saying like the setting. Like, let's say these characters are still following sort of kind of
Protocol,
human
whatever.
etiquette and
Yeah.
protocol. You know, like we're wearing a suit to this man's birthday party.
You
It's so surreal.
you just that's my favorite part of the movie, and that's just the insanity of the movie. What was the guy's name? Snout's
yeah,
birthday
Snout.
party. I love it. It's like the whole space station has fallen to shit. There's like weird
Mhm.
little like it's just nothing makes sense. There's
Yeah,
reincarnation, and it's like, it's my birthday. I wish you would come. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll come.
I'll come.
And
I'll
then
wear
they
a
have
suit.
a weird ass birthday party
and
in
they sit
suits.
down. And my
And
favorite
he's
is like,
talking with his like alien remade wife there, and she's like on his lap, and they're just
she's
talking.
always like accompanying him, and no one bats an eye. Like everyone's just like, yeah, well, she's here now.
And was
So,
that
yeah.
the scene where they lose gravity as well? Was that?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That was like yeah.
That's just
So things like that, I think they
So
oddly
cool.
work in the film.
yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I just that library scene that was so
Mhm.
cool.
And then you have like this other guy with the glasses. Like, I'm doing research. What are you doing? and
He's
then his friend's
taking
like,
blood
let's not
and stuff.
argue. He's like, why was my birthday?
It's
It's
my
like, let's-
birthday.
let's just
Bilbo
hang out.
Baggins.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
And again, like the whole set pieces, like we talked about, there's a couple of set pieces, but it still does a good job where you feel like it makes sense. You're at the space station. You know, you don't necessarily need more.
Yeah. I like the
sets.
night and day difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like super bright light and then just darkness. And him just wandering around. I love that when because you're not told that it's his dead wife first.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just this
Well, I figured
woman.
it out though.
Oh, you figured out that she's dead? Because it
Mhm.
was just like his wife, right? That's what the movie tells you. He's like, "Oh, let's go back to Earth. I finally found you." And then he just sticks her in the rocket and just sends her off.
Throws her in a rocket.
Yeah, I didn't get that though. I think he was trying to like, get rid of the alien.
He was, but that's
Get
the
rid of
brilliant
the
thing
alien scum
he
again.
know she's dead, but we don't know she's dead, right?
Ah.
Then he says like, "Oh," and then Snout asks him like Stout or whatever his name is. He's like,
Snout.
"Oh, who did you see?" And he's like, "Well, I saw my wife." And they're like, "Oh," and it's like, "Yeah, but the thing is, she's been dead for 9 years." You know,
okay.
it's like
Right,
it's like the
right.
moment. It's like the I see dead people moment.
Gotcha.
So then you understand like why did he freak out so much, sending
Okay,
her
maybe I
off in
didn't
a
connect that, yeah.
rocket.
I mean,
Yeah.
But that whole
There are
shot,
easier ways of
true.
disposing.
That's
But the
true.
rocket was a plus choice.
That was great. But I think the first part of that, he's like really trying to maintain his mission, and he's trying to have like a critical. He's like, and he's like, "Oh, come back tomorrow," and he's like, "Okay, I'll come back tomorrow." He's like, he's there on business, and then it just all dwells into this madness of
Well,
existence.
here's a couple of questions I have just plot related. Why did the old man tell him to come back? Was he hiding something or what?
Who, what? Old man?
Remember when he first arrives at the station and he meets Snout, and Snout's like, "Oh, you should rest. Come back in an hour." And then he eventually goes like, "Come back tomorrow. Don't even come back in an hour."
I think
Was he hiding something or what?
he had the kid in his room.
Oh.
And I think he wanted to adjust or maybe see an incarnation of his own before he explains why he's a little child in his room.
Right. Yeah, that's
That's my impression. What do you think, Phil?
Sure.
We never got the explanation from his old friend who committed suicide on the station. We never got an explanation. He said, "I have things to tell you," and then he just he turned it off for some reason. Remember
That's
that?
true. I think it's because they were banging on
That's
his door.
part of the insanity, though.
Yeah, I guess maybe he was the
Yeah.
first one who seen these things, and then they saw it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Who knows?
Yeah. So what do you
Um,
guys think of the sort of, okay, so we kind of went through the feel of what happened, but
Yeah.
what do you guys kind of think about the ending of the movie? Because it does take a bit of a turn at the end, and it sets a little bit of a different tone. It gets a little existential. They talk about stuff.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
This is
Because
my.
I think, because remember he sort of has some epiphany at the end a bit where he's just almost
It's very
oh.
similar to Brad Pitt. It's like,
It is.
You need to cherish, like, work isn't everything, and the greater things of life, like exploration, is not worth the personal, love and the social connections and,
Yep.
the people. I think it's a very similar thing. But then you have the rug pulled underneath you when the alien does the switcheroo and he's on an island. So that then
True.
confuses you.
It does confuse me. But
Yeah,
I
but
wanted
that's
to say
cool.
that
It's true.
Didn't you guys see tons of similarities between Ad Astra?
Oh, yeah.
It was
So many.
Basically, if
I
you
was
think
so
about it,
happy.
it was pretty much almost the same movie. Almost.
Yeah. I think
Right?
it's very
I mean,
inspired by
yeah,
Solar.
inspired
It
by,
must
yeah.
be. Like, I've seen so many, like, you were asking about Interstellar. Like, I was just thinking of so many Interstellar things, like how it's inspired by. Like, it's not exactly the thing, but it's just the way of thinking, the introspective
Mhm.
journey of a person through sci-fi,
Especially
great.
him going there and then him coming back. Whoops.
Yes,
Coming back.
yes.
It's, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was definitely inspired.
Oh, yeah. This is a big inspirational
Heavily.
movie.
Yes. I would say
I
definitely.
think the biggest thing about this is that, is that the focus on human problems rather than just science fiction set
Mhm.
pieces and plots was a very good move. And the fact that Mr. What's his name? Tartakovsky?
Yes.
Mhm.
Tartakovsky is Gendy
yes.
Tartakovsky.
No. Andrei
A
Tarkovsky.
different guy. Andrei Tarkovsky, I think his frustration of the movies at the time that were just kind of plot related, they were very cold. They didn't have any kind of no humanity.
Yes.
So he decided
Yes.
to do he decided to put something that makes it more profound. And I feel like that's excellent. And I think that that's what made other movies follow that trajectory as well.
Definitely.
I think that's a good thing.
A lot of contemporary movies and a lot of movies since then just really, really taken, like, having a profound kind of impression on the filmmakers and them wanting to do their version of that journey as well. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Their version.
Yep.
There's a personal interesting thing that I had experienced is that the set design of things of the I think it's the space station and also the interviews that were recorded in the government building and anything that's not the old shabby house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So interesting to me because it reminds me of so I grew up in Serbia, which was Yugoslavia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in Yugoslavia, after World War II, because of the political situation, it was a very prosperous country. There were many hotels built and many, engineering thing, like big dams and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
This was built in the 60s and the 70s. And then during the 80s, it all kind of fell. And then, war and all this stuff, nothing's built. So when I was a kid, in 2000s, we would have field trips from school. And we would visit these places, like an archaeological dig, or we went to see the big dam on Danube, and then we stayed at a hotel. But all these places were from the 60s and 70s, and all of them look like they were from that era.
Yes.
And they were all, at this point, very shabby, but still designed from those places. And I had an insane nostalgia feeling, like looking at any of this. Just
Really?
like I just remember the dam and the controls of it, and it was like this the 60s. But it was like because it's not like watching Chernobyl, like the sad communistic East world, because Yugoslavia was like, it was a socialist country, but it wasn't part of the Eastern Bloc. It was like this very specific. It was very
different. It was
modern,
like disconnected from that.
Yes, it was like very like atheistic and like revolutionary and like party and like the new world, but it was also very socialist as well. It was like a weird combination of the country that existed.
And it wasn't so closed off, right? People could travel and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it wasn't so budgetary. Like where I live in now, Slovakia, I can see the remnants of socialism. It's like it's super damp and super just like sad and depressing. While it was the glory days, the glory days of socialism, which is kind of the like the good part of whatever that Russia wants to show, but isn't the reality. But like in Yugoslavia, that was, and it's funny. I just like. God, I just really want to go back to those weird hotels again. And
so what were the like some of the things you saw?
Like I remember going to this archaeological museum that there was this like Neolithical culture that lived around this river, and they had a dig. But it's like that place that we visited, like there's like a under like where they dig out everything, like a little village. What is this?
Hello.
Hello. Right?
Keep talking.
So there's like this, like the whole, like you can see the whole village, and that you walk around on like specific stairways, right? You can see the archaeological, and there's like a museum next to it, and like a little shop and everything. And we went to see there like 2002. Dude, that place looked exactly like it was in 75. Like didn't change.
Yeah.
And then we went to this hotel, and it's like the resort of the 70s. There's a disco club on the bottom, where us 14-year-olds, there's like some village DJ playing some tracks, but it's exactly made like disco in the 70s, Like
but I wanted to ask, in the movie, what are like some things that totally reminded you of?
It's just the aesthetic. It was just freaking me out. It was just too much. It was just like the buttons and how everything works and the details and the colors and the design.
Right. That's interesting. That's cool.
That is very interesting, man. Like me and Jacob, they didn't see any.
Yeah, I didn't make some connections.
It's a very subjective experience. Yeah.
Well, because for me, it's like I was mostly just impressed so much that this movie was made in that era, in that time period, and it really it just felt so not of what I imagined.
Yeah.
Russia being in 72, it doesn't even feel almost like a Russian film, to be honest with you. That's what I think is really cool.
Like steampunk or whatever these retrofuturism aesthetics are. I really want to see socialism futuristic.
Oh yeah, you should do that. I'd love to see that.
So cool. That would be really interesting.
Because like you have like alternative universe of like communism, like like you do have that, but it's very like red, you know, like that aesthetic, the army oriented. But this is the futuristic, like that would be so cool.
Nasty socialistic looking stuff.
Yeah,
but like in the future, where it's
but because it was like very like the hopeful part of that, like the artistic.
Right.
Like I'm curious what that aesthetic would be.
But a lot of that stuff was so ugly. That was a brutalist and nasty.
Yes. Oh, the brutalism, the brutalistic monuments around Yugoslavia.
The brutalism stuff is pretty rad, though.
It is pretty cool.
Like
for me,
not
I mean, like,
as a living, like not something for like apartments or something, but the statues are pretty good.
Yeah, but even
maybe
for a
for a
movie.
movie would be cool. Yeah.
For the
you're
Russian
Like, just
gulag.
that sort of like very cold brutalist.
Yeah,
That
because
would
that
be
was the
interesting. But
aesthetic.
you know what's
that was-
funny? They have something similar to that. If you watch Planet of the Apes, Bell for the Planet of
Oh
the Apes.
yeah, no, Conquest.
Conquest. Thank you. Conquest for the Planet of the Apes. That's something along those lines. It's very like cold, brutalist sort of future where everything's concrete and just
Yeah.
It's something along those lines.
There was a movie that came out a couple of years ago. It had Bard from Hobbit. What's his name? Not Bard.
To the devil with you.
Yeah, exactly. What's the guy's name?
I know his name every single time, but when I have to know his name,
It's
I don't
okay.
remember it.
It's like I think it's called The High Rise or something like that.
Luke
It's like-
Evans.
Luke Evans.
Luke
exactly.
Evans. Yeah.
It's like this. I guess it's a sci-fi movie, but it's more of a like a concept.
Gulag.
Concept. It's basically there's a really high-rise building, and it's like a
Dread?
social commentary similar to that. It's a social commentary, and it's got that aesthetic like the 70s weird post-socialism Europe thing, right?
It's a movie.
It's a movie, and it's basically have social classes throughout. Like on top of the
wow.
like is the owner and the architect of the whole apartment buildings, and then you have like the ruling class and the arts class goes all the way down to the working class and everything.
Wow.
And I think at one point like they do a revolution through this high rise. And
Oh, that's crazy. That's a good idea. I like that.
it's pretty cool. It's I would recommend
Is
this
the movie
It's-
called High Rise?
Dude, I think I'm not sure.
Maybe it is.
It might- could
has
be.
Tom Hiddleston.
Yes,
Has
yes,
Jeremy
yes.
Irons.
Oh,
It's called
you
High
got
Rise.
it.
You nailed it just subconsciously.
I thought-
by saying the
Yeah.
name.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought, Jim, I thought you guessed the title because that's.
No.
Yeah, I think.
But if,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
I was gonna say that there is. This is really unrelated, but I learned that in the I think it would be the 13th, 14th century in Edinburgh in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
They would have these big tall buildings and there would be lots of stairs. And what they did was they had the rich people on the ground level instead of on the top. Because the peasants would have to
That's
go
true.
take the stairs.
Well, no, Phil, did you know that this actually, I was listening to that podcast, Pessimist Archive podcast.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
They talked about the elevator. And for actually a long time, not just back then, but I think all the way to the 18th, 19th, maybe even further century when actually skyscrapers, maybe later, when skyscrapers started being built. Prior to that, it was much more common for like people of a higher class to be on the first level so they can just escape. But then later it became like a luxury, like we're at the top. So, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, once you get the elevator, you get the nice view.
Yeah, but did you know that a lot of the nobles and stuff hated the elevator? You know why? Because it was everyone could use it. All the classes.
Oh,
that's
we
not
can't
cool.
have this.
We can't have everyone using it. It's like what,
Exactly.
peasants and me? No.
Rise higher than me? Impossible.
Impossible. So that's interesting.
That's crazy.
Do you guys have anything else to say? I don't think I have anything else to say.
I don't think anything either. I just like
I have a question for you, Tim.
yeah. What's up?
Would you remake this movie?
No.
I don't think I would either. Yeah. We should watch the remake and see. Well, I don't
Honestly, I was
might
thinking.
George Lucas it a bit and fix that goddamn last shot of that stupid
The
island sticking out of the water because
Yeah,
everything
it's
else
really
was
flat.
perfect. Everything was perfect except that one shot. Like every other effect shot, I could stomach. It's just because it's like at the end. It's just like
Yeah, I agree.
The last thing you see.
just a little bit of feathering on the island edges. That's it.
It turned into like a flat.
It turned out because Ocean Planet, right? Like you guys didn't see Interstellar, did you?
No.
No.
There's an amazing rendition of an Ocean Planet on that, and but that's technically
That's 2014.
advanced. No, I mean like even just like the way they thought about it, how it worked and everything. It's much more tangible and realistic.
Oh.
While this is much more dreamlike, but I think it works for the favor of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Solaris.
And I just before we end, I just want to say that I can't, for love of me, give you examples, but the way I felt of how inspirational to other movies this movie was just crazy. You get to see, like, you watch sometimes like an older movie, and you just, because you've seen all that came after it, and then you can just connect the dots at once. You're like,
Yeah.
I get it. You know, this is the one where it came from.
Yeah,
I
saw
watch a
some.
lot more older movies.
I saw some shots from Alien in this.
Oh yeah, do you know specific or just like
Like there's one in the corridor, like the camera was moving and you can see these long corridor shots, and it feels like, oh, that I just got reminded of Alien. Speaking of which, Tim, I've been watching some old movies. They're really fascinating. You just go to look at those 1001 lists or whatever. Edgar Wright's 1000 movies is really good.
okay?
And just pick some movies from like black and white and everything. There's some fun parts. There's some really fun stuff. That's why I've been watching some, so I can pop them in and when we get some movie
Good.
recommendations.
Lovely. Well,
I think we've reached the final moments.
it is true.
I
It is true.
unfortunately don't have any listener feedback this
That's okay.
episode.
I think that's a good incentive to listeners.
Yes.
Give us feedback. We
hit us up. iTunes review would be great because that means we'll read
Did
it
you
out
see the
loud.
movie?
yeah.
Did you see the movie?
Did you see?
I mean, the
Astra?
old one. The old one.
Even Solaris. Yeah. What are your thoughts of Solaris?
Yeah. What do you think? Solaris? The old one? What do you think?
Do you guys dig it? And there's two ways that you can not contact, but one is I don't know what to say. One is iTunes reviews. That one helps us to get new listeners. So if you have a thought about our podcast and want to give us a review, hit us out on iTunes. If you listen to iTunes, if not, bummer. But if you just want to ask us anything, the best way is to look us up on Instagram. We got Twofold
Instagram.
Podcast.
And also,
We
we
do posts.
post stories. We post questions, so
That's
you can
right.
interact. You can always DM us.
Always DM
It's
us
always
any
open.
question. If
Yeah.
you have a specific
Anything you
question
wanna
that we
comment.
maybe started a conversation and we didn't finish it on the podcast, or
Yeah.
maybe you have a question, or you want to tell us your personal experience of that movie, hit us up. We'll talk about it on the nice
Exactly.
podcast.
Absolutely.
We always do. What the hell was that?
What? Are you playing an instrument?
What is that? Am I losing my mind? Am I on Solaris right now? Is this
So you're playing that?
I wish I did.
Anyway, I
What?
think I hear the theme music. I think.
That's true. I think we better hear
Oh,
the theme
man.
music before we lose our.
And
Goddamn
it's
mind.
coming in strong.
I'm
week is Jake's
going
week.
into
This
the
the
mist
next 2
of
weeks,
time.
in 2 weeks, I'll be hosting. I
Is
got a
this
mix of
love?
movies.
Yeah.
Is it
Probably
real?
a song that's okay. And
Am I imagining things?
We'll see you
Am
guys in
I
2 weeks.
in the woods
Thank
with
you for
my
listening.
grandpa Joe?
Are you
And
happy?
We'll see you soon, everyone.
Okay.
Go check out Ad Astra. Go check out Solaris. Have a good party.
Oh, hi, doggy.
We'll see you guys.
All right,
Huh?
let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. I'm not using
What?
Vegas to record this time.
What?
What?
Phil.
Remember, I got a new hard
You
drive.
betrayed?
It's a terabyte hard drive now, so the C drive is free, so I can install all kinds of programs. And of course, I have the Adobe Suite,
Oh.
so I just downloaded
yes, that's right, because you have the license.
Audition.
That's
So I'm
awesome.
using that now.
Oh, so audition boy.
Yes. That's actually, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, well, if there's any problems with Audition, well, now you know that not every program is perfect, and you can stop being so racist towards Vegas.
Well, still not joining the gods of logic, but
Oh,
I think Audition's
strong.
What about
mean-
Pro Tools though?
I think Pro
That's-
Tools is also.
Isn't that like
Those
the
are guys.
ultimate?
It's
It's
too
the
much. It's
industry
like
standard.
Avid, It's too godly. It's like, you don't want to
I
be up there
think-
with the.
I think that Logic
Upper
is the
gods.
nice blend of it's like the good old boys. Logic
Yeah.
are always making good stuff.
Never crashed on a podcast. Isn't that amazing?
No, never
For
crashed.
millions of episodes.
Amazing.
You're right. Actually, I think it never crashed for me ever. I think the only time that something bad happened was when we had trouble with our audio interfaces.
Yes.
But that's not Logic's problem.
But there were like some really complicated projects where there were like thousands of effects. You know, it crashed sometimes then, but
I think we also had the issue, remember, when we plugged in the two brothers? Remember that?
Yeah.
The two interfaces. But I think that's because of the real weird clock speed stuff or something.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right.
You ready?
All right.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm looking at our photos and they're making little
Okay.
circles.
Welcome
I'm ready.